those of you who got an invite, welcome to Nerd Prom.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all Nerds International. With the hyphen.
We would like to thank our Patreon show supporters: Morgan Ellis, Victoria Kirk, Bubba Snap, Want Some Beats, and Trylan Warwind. Here's to you. Warning. This broadcast does contain foul language. If this is something that can or will offend you, you have the option to turn it off now. Welcome back for our 67th episode. I'm Jaime, and with me again is Blaine. You didn't go to Alaska, Blaine. What's up, Blaine?
How's it going?
It is going, sir. And we also have that late fucker as usual, Will. What's up, Willard?
I like to make an appearance.
Yeah, oh, you did a fine job of it, sir, really. And coming in last, again, go fuck yourself, Frank. How are you doing?
Go fuck yourself.
Exactly. That's how we roll. All right, introductions are done. Blaine, contact info. Fuck it up.
You can email us at thegatheringofdorks@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at TGODorks, capital TGOD Orcs. Facebook.com/TGODorks. And also be sure to join the Nerds International Google Plus community. There you will find updates for when we will be doing any live streams on our Twitch channel, like this one.
You want a pizza?
At twitch.tv/TGO Dorks. Be sure to leave us an iTunes review and get over to patreon.com/TGO Dorks and help support the show. You can find the links to all these in our show notes. Thank you.
Very good, Blaine. Professional as usual. Oh, my fucking thing started again. See that? I had the repeat on. Did you catch that? Okay. So, that does it for introductions.
So, who's professional? Who's professional here?
Jaime, professional as usual.
Your fucking
Nice.
face. Let's get into what's happening. Okay, yeah, go fuck yourselves. I fucked up. It doesn't never happen, I know, but it finally happened this time. So, real quick, let's go ahead and take a second. For those of you that are joining us live in Twitch, you can see we have a couple of guests with us tonight. I would like to take a minute to go ahead and introduce to you Jerrod, Savage Daddy Gunning, and Scott, Savage Cheerleader from Game Master Hangout. Welcome, guys.
God damn.
Dude, I had to fucking repeat off.
Good thing nobody's paying you.
Man, fuck this show.
I'm out of here.
Yeah,
It's just not.
I'm out of here. You amateur
Just-
fucks.
That was
This is not the level of professionalism to which I'm accustomed.
So, yeah, there we go. Right from the word go. So, yeah, go ahead, take a second to introduce yourself, guys, while I try to figure out what the fuck is going on.
Go ahead, Jerrod. You're my boss.
All right, that's right, bitch. My name is Jerrod Savage Daddy Gunning, and I run the Savage Worlds Game Master Hangout podcast. We broadcast weekly on Wednesday, and then also post that broadcast in an audio format on iTunes on the following Friday. We're also pretty big in the Savage Worlds G Plus community.
I'm not sure if you've heard of it.
You may have heard of us. You may not have heard of us. We also host try to do twice a month, try to do actual plays on a Savage Saturday Night YouTube channel. Live broadcast of actual plays as a learning for Savage Worlds. And Scott is my partner in crime.
Yeah.
On the
I just
Hangout.
ride with Jerrod. If you really get desperate to see me make a complete cock of myself, you can look at my YouTube channel under Disavow, and I'll probably upset you at some point.
Sorry, I had to make sure to get that out. So, welcome to the show, guys. Scott, you reached out to me. You had checked out a couple of episodes, got really pissed off at our stupidity, and said, "You know what? I'm going to get on here." Hey, man, I'm sorry. Your words. No, I'm just kidding.
Your stupidity, Jamie.
Yeah,
Yours.
I believe
my
it's a man
stupidity.
crush on Blaine that got this started. So
Yeah, he's not only a Savage cheerleader, but he's a Blaine cheerleader for this evening. So
Right on.
Anyway, so Blaine, like we
Blaine, that would be the first.
Yeah, he's my only supporter.
well, Scott,
Thank
you are
you,
now
Scott.
you're now the ones of Blaine fans.
Known Blaine
Break
for
it like a
15 years, still can't stand him.
I was like Blaine +1.
So Blaine, you
Okay, I know where you're going, Jamie. I know where you're going. I haven't
tell
left
it.
for Alaska yet because I've been doing all the paperwork, and I'm going to buy a ticket probably within the next couple of days, so I'll know the exact day I leave tomorrow. That's it.
Willard, how about you, man? How you doing, besides being late?
I spent the last 3 weekends putting floors in my house, so everything hurts except for my right arm.
Oh, that's because that's the one you work out all the time, right?
Well, yeah, it's the muscle one.
Yeah, not for drinking beer, pal. Frank, how about you, man? How you doing? Yeah, dude, right on. Thank you.
Moving on.
Okay. So something we want to get into real quick before we... actually, Blaine, before we get into all that bullshit, I would like to hear you read Padme's Lovers 5-star iTunes review for us, please.
Okay. Padme's Lover finally got in a 5-star review, and he said, "The Dorks try many different systems and provide hours of fantastic role-playing. Well, all except for Jaime. He metagames the shit out of his characters.
Go fuck
and
yourself.
Blaine is a metaphysical confluence of paradynamical cacophonies with a prescription to mispronunciate ideologies."
There you go, Padme's Lover. He just fucked you up because he did it.
I have a comment. I have to comment. Nailed it.
Yes, he did.
No, not me. He nailed it.
I'm not dumb. I just play a dumb guy on a podcast. Anyway, so I wanted to take a minute to go ahead and talk about the direction that the show is going to go on. Sorry, Scott and Jerrod. I know highly exciting for you guys, but it's something I want to get out there. As everybody knows, for a long time, the Gathering of Dorks was primarily a live play podcast. As I've kind of alluded to over the last couple of shows, trying to do a live play cast when we're relying on people from literally around the world's schedules has become an absolute pain in the fucking ass. Everybody has real life. I get it. Everybody has things happen. I get it. But what sucks about it is it causes you, the listener, some disgruntlement at times, I guess you could say, whether you really care or not, I don't know. But like even Angry Gamer Mom put in chat earlier, oh no, what Dorks Discuss might actually be canceled so they could play Deadlands. You know, shit has happened many times, which, by the way, thank you everybody for joining us in chat. Another good turnout tonight. Thank you. Be sure to talk massive amounts of shit on our two guests tonight. Thank you. Make them feel at home. So anyways, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're just going to make this show exactly what you've been hearing for the last few episodes. We're going to get on here. We're going to talk some shit. Hopefully have some fine guests like Jerrod and Scott every so often and just really get down and dirty and talk shit. It's what we enjoy doing in the first place. It's what the original intention of the Gathering of Dorks was going to be, which is let's sit around, get drunk, talk about role-playing games, and call each other stupid, even though we might agree with the guy. So that's really the direction that this show is going to go ahead and go into. But that's not to say that you'll never hear an actual play from us again. We're going to try to make an attempt to go old school with it, like Frank is kicking up Call of Cthulhu here next week, I think it is, or week after, whenever it is. We're not going to stream those. What we're going to do is we're going to go old school with it. But instead of just releasing, hey, here's a Call of Cthulhu, let's move on. Here's another Call of Cthulhu, let's move on. Oh, wait, now listen, what the fuck they're doing Star Wars. What happened to Call of Cthulhu? Frank is just going to take all the Call of Cthulhu sessions and we're going to release it as one long, massive, fucking probably 8 to 10 hour episode or whatever the case may be. Either way, you're going to get a successive full story arc done. So, Big B 2385. Yay, Call of Cthulhu. Identify yourself, Big B.
I like Stefan. I've been corrected on that, Stefan, so I apologize earlier. But Stefan Dragonspawn put, where's Jerrod's ball cap? So I'm assuming, Jerrod, that this is somebody that knows you.
Yeah, this is a viewer from our a regular viewer from our Wednesdays.
Are you like me?
As well.
Are you like me, where you like to wear your ball cap when you're on video?
Well, I'm actually wearing my ball cap. I'm actually bald. It's really
Well, he's the only one that wears a hat right now.
It's the hair right here. It's the fill.
Gotcha.
Oh, I see it now. Okay.
So anyway, that's the direction that the Dorks is going to go. So I love it. I enjoy it. It's a lot less stress. Will, you and I have talked about this a couple of times. We get on here, we kick down a handful of beers, dude, and we actually have a lot of fun doing this. And the turnouts for these things on the live chat have just been nothing less than fucking awesome. And this is well worth it.
Counting the list right now, not counting us, there's like 10 people here.
Yeah,
so.
Which is, Stefan said, that's what I meant, bald cap.
We literally have tens of listeners.
Yes, tens of listeners. No, but you guys in live chat, this is what makes it all worthwhile. We appreciate it, and that's the direction that we're going to go ahead and take this show. So don't give up hope on any live plays because they will be there sometime and somewhere. It's just for now, this is what we're going to do. So with that said, all of you listeners, email gatheringofdorks@gmail.com. Let us know exactly what you would like to hear us argue about. I can't say talk about. I can't say discuss. I say argue about because that's what we do on this show. So email. Give us your show suggestions.
What are you talking about? We don't argue.
Fuck you. Yes, we do. No, we don't. Yes, we do. No, we don't. So,
does anybody else look at Scott and be like, "Oh, you're about to leave fishing, yeah?"
yeah. It's like you're ready to go fishing. Are you going for zipper bass, trouser trout? What are we looking at?
Mostly. Well, hey, wait a minute. We had to talk before the show.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. That's me. I'm sorry. Okay. So, anyways, I wanted to get that out there. I wanted to go ahead and take that and let everybody know what we're going to be doing. So, with that, we're going to go ahead. We have a couple of predetermined topics for tonight. Scott, Jerrod, you guys already got some show notes of what we're going to be talking about, but those show notes are, we'll call them guidelines because we're going to go off on absolute tangents, and we got a couple of listeners that added to it. So let's go ahead and get on over and let's start the argument. Here we go. Morgan already put in chat. Talk about Sandbox.
Oh, God.
Everybody hated us.
That's not happening.
So, okay, a couple things that we went ahead and decided. Will, you gave a couple of really good suggestions on the document that we have going to for show topics. And I'm glad Scott and Jerrod, you guys are with us. You guys have been doing a show for a few years now. You guys cover a lot of topics much like this. I know it's primarily Savage Worlds focused, but these things are stuff that can apply to any fucking session. So,
absolutely.
Will, can you go ahead and let us know what this first one was that you had brought up as a suggestion here? Any fucking time. You're muted, stupid.
Your face is stupid.
You fucking dumb fucker.
How can internet?
Your face is a dumb fucker. Last week I was at work and I was just thinking about just your normal day activities. Matter of fact, I think I was standing there, I'm like, man, I got to take a shit. And I go, for some reason it popped in my mind, I've never taken a dump in D&D or any other role-playing game. So I'm like, matter of fact, I've never brushed my teeth. I've never washed my clothes. I've never taken a piss. I've never had sex in the fantasy world. And I'm like, dude, all this normal shit that we'd be doing almost every day. At least I would hope every day.
Not sex every day? No. Well, unless you count.
Well, I guess it depends on how young you are. Yeah, jerking off.
I don't know. I've been constipated a couple days, so.
And I said that would be a hell of a topic. Oh, shit, Frank.
I always make an agility roll before I take a shit.
You know what? That's probably what I do too.
So what happens when you get a raise, Jerrod?
Then it's diarrhea time.
It's like a samurai shit.
I have to do a skullduggery roll before I get into the bathroom.
So we're sitting around a campfire talking.
I have the acrobat edge, so it gives me a +2.
So we're sitting around a campfire talking, right? And it's like, hey, can we talk about hemorrhoids? You know?
No, but you're
yeah, seriously, like, Blaine, what was wrong with that last fight? You were a little off key. Oh man, my asshole be itching.
Hemorrhoids were flaring up.
I didn't wipe good enough, dude. I got an itchy asshole.
Yeah, my armor's got a brown stain.
Let me shoot your bow. No, it's okay. It really smells.
No, but you know what? Will is absolutely right. And well, not 100%, because if you remember, at least in our actual plays, Tonadin, the first thing he did when he got to town was take a bath because he was a nappy, dirty motherfucker. And so that much has happened. And also, Will, in your last session when we took the D&D 5e in Icewind Dale and took it over to Savage Worlds, that was the first time I ever experienced that too. Aunt's fiance, Joe, was playing with us, and she totally banged some dude, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was the sheriff.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
Of naughty,
but it's been like the first time it's ever happened.
Of Nottingham?
Of Targos.
Well, it's called Savage Worlds for a reason. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I remember right, that character did it for a specific purpose. It was like an increase in pay, right?
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't just a.
It was prostitution.
Yeah, it wasn't just a random thing. Like, I'm sexually attracted to this guy. I mean, obviously, if I remember right, he was ugly, but
Lord Borley, he looked like a dwarf.
yeah.
And he paid handsomely for that ass. I don't remember how much it was. Yeah.
So that presents something. I mean, within our own group, yeah, this kind of shit is rare. It's like, I got to take a shit. Ooh, roll a d20. But from your guys' standpoint and your guys' experience, Jerrod and Scott, I mean, do you guys ever get into that everyday situation kind of thing and role play it, or no?
It usually doesn't happen in my games. I doubt it happens in many Savage Worlds games because Savage Worlds tends to be a cinematic system. Mm-hmm. So it tends to kind of follow I would almost say a movie type pacing. But I'm open to it as a GM, depending on what the players want to do. It's not something where I've ever said, no, we're not going to do this. In a game.
I'm sorry you could have a cinematic shit. Guys in the forest,
Yeah.
everything gets real tense, the music gets up.
Michael Bean, directed by Michael Bean, shit in Savage Worlds.
The wind
explosions.
starts blowing their hair, and they're just...
Dude, hey, no, cinematic shitting. I've watched Dumb and Dumber. That is cinematic shitting, dude.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like if it would open up the possibilities of plot, right? So like you guys walk in the inn or the bar or whatever, and your fighter is like, "Hey, I gotta take a leak." So this guy's going out to the privy, or he's actually going in the shitter, right? That opens you up as a GM to say, okay, well, maybe there's a contact waiting for talk. Maybe he's going to, the fucking ninja shows up out of the shitter, and jumps out and tries to kill this motherfucker because you guys have made enemies. It's a chance to bring shit back. But doing normal dumb shit like I do every day, I really don't sit around the table to do this and talk about taking pisses and shits. It's just not what I'm there for. I'm there to fucking have fun and adventure and be a big damn hero.
Eric Lamoureux absolutely nailed it in chat. Based on what you were saying, with ninjas, minus the ninjas, I'm sorry. He gained the drop on you while you were taking a shit. So, yeah, he's got a +4 to fuck you up while you were taking a shit.
Right, yeah, I mean, you get your dick kicked in, in most systems that you're going to get a stealth roll against you, right?
Now, what about, okay, I don't know about you guys, but at least for us, it's all, I mean, when we game with Joe, at least for me outside of conventions, amongst a home group type situation, that was the first time I ever gamed with a chick in a, like I said, outside of a convention. So do those type of scenarios really ever come up in your guys' games with the, the sexual encounters and that kind of stuff?
No,
not really. I mean,
I'd like to talk about that just for a minute because there was something I was saying a minute ago. But think about this: when we're on the trail for, I don't care what, it doesn't matter what system it is. It could be futuristic Star Wars. It could be a fantasy setting like D&D or even a Savage Worlds fantasy setting. It doesn't matter. If you're on a trail for a long time and you've been surrounded by a bunch of dudes, not trying to throw any implications on who you'd like to have sex with, but if you've been wanking it for a while and then you come into town, usually it's the first time says, well, I'm going to find a tavern. I'm going to find some ale, right? Fantasy guys. That's usually what happens, unless there's some specific quest that you guys have to go, or someone specific you have to go meet. Now, I'm thinking in a real-world standpoint of myself. Fuck, dude, I haven't been laid in 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I've been on the road. I've been in a starship. I just got to town. Dude, I'm sorry. I'm going to take me a shower, and I'm going to go find some poontang. That never comes up. It's always going to a tavern and getting an ale, or meeting up with this contact or some other thing like that. You could call it a trope if you want. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it always goes that way.
Well, for me personally, the biggest problem I have with it is, I can't say problem, but call it what you will. Typically, when I RP a character, I'm that guy that I'm like, I never RP a chick. Sorry, Stefan Dragonspawn, because I played a chick in his game over the weekend, but I'm the guy that I never play chicks. And when I roll up a character for myself, I just don't make chicks. It's something that I just don't do. I've had the friends that, playing MMOs and all that stuff, they make the female characters, and I'm like, why, dude? Why? But that's just me. So for us to be a bunch of dudes sitting around, and for me to go, hey, Will, this character's really coming on to you, dude. I can't do that. You kind of wish I
Well, lucky for Will, they make a couple of games you can actually do that and talk about how you guys fucked and what the consequences of that are.
Isn't that Monster
So-
Hearts?
You got
Yeah,
syphilis.
fatal.
Woohoo!
Fatal, right?
Says about it not being about sex. It's quite clear every character has a fuck move, right? And it's all
like a
because-
pile driver? Or?
Yeah, it's fuck. I'm declaring.
Forward, back forward.
Reverse
Now we
Lotus.
talk about the consequences and repercussions of us fucking because I used one of my 5 sex moves. I just don't want to do that. I just don't. I'm an adult, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't interest me.
Well,
I think that's.
I will
what
say
you're-
this. I
Go
think
ahead.
it depends. I think you see sexuality come into it a lot more when you have a female player at the table. It's been my experience. Because I've seen a female character, or have heard tale of a female character that's in one of our current games, always plays the super attractive, seductress Matahari, who always tries to seduce men instead of getting into fights or conflicts, will actually flash men her breast as a smarts trick in Savage Worlds. So I think that the sexuality portion of it really only comes into play when there's actually a female player at the table.
No, I DM'd for a group of douchebags up in Baltimore once. There was like 6 or 7 of these fucking idiots, and they, it's a long drive. I got to Baltimore, and we're like, here's what you're doing. Here's your characters. You guys are working for this fucking Baron. He's gonna send you out on missions. You're basically covert fantasy agents. We're playing fucking F20. Usually 3.0 or 3.5. And they get to a tavern to meet a contact, and all they want to do is sit around and talk about the big titty winches and mental masturbation to how they're going to pick up on these girls. And I'm just like, hey, time out. That's not what the fuck we're here for. You're a fighter, a wizard. You're not a fucking you're not a pimp, a drug dealer, a fucking an LEO looking to bust these guys. We're adventurers. We're here to kill shit and find treasure and have a good time.
Well, that brings me to a point, Scott, because I do agree with you. You and I agree, when you're sitting down at a table, why bring in the sex, poop, and piss fucking shit when you're sitting down to play a hero? But on the other hand, I am a big believer in, if people sit down to play a game together and that's what they want to do, why not let them do it if they're enjoying that? I mean, a lot of guys on MMOs like to get into characters and play them like they're role-playing. A lot of other people just like to get on there, talk shit, and fucking PvP. Yeah. So those groups, they tend to stick together. You got a group of guys that they want to sit around and act like they're gaming and talk about sex and tits, whatever. They're having fun. They're doing their thing. That's how I look at it.
I see it this way. You build a character to be a certain way, and if that character is a poonhound, I mean, I don't know if Scott or Jerrod, if you listen to any of the Star Wars stuff, but the character that I have, Cyric, his first goal in life is to go get pussy, and that's it. Everything else is secondary, and that's just the character. And you're right on what you said. And this whole thing was brought up not so much as, no, of course, we're not going to talk about, well, hey, Scott, dude, it's been a while. You haven't taken a dump. Roll your 20. I mean, that's not what this is about. It's just about everyday stuff that just never gets brought up.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny how sex came to the forefront. Now, a question that I have, do you think that not bringing sex up is more taboo? Around a bunch of guys, or is it just more of, we're here to kill shit and loot and blah, blah, blah?
I think...
Because I have a feeling that when you're a bunch of guys, you just don't talk about. I mean, it's weird with a bunch of guys, a bunch of Type A personalities, like most of us are, sitting around talking about getting laid and all this shit.
Right.
Well, I think a big part of that is that dives a lot into, what are you wanting to get out of this game?
Right.
It sounds like really fucked up to say something like this, but it's kind of true. Is Will and Blaine, we play these games to have fantastical adventures because it's not everyday life. It's just, that's the reality of it. And maybe there's some people that play because, again, it sounds fucked up, but it's very true. Maybe there's some people that play because they don't get that kind of thing in real life. And this is a way of trying to live throughout that, live out that
I'm
fantasy.
married and I want to get laid by a bunch of different women, so I have to do it here.
Hey, you know what? There's a lot to be said for therapy, role playing therapy.
Hey, man.
Do I have to go see the
Scott
fatty
said last
psychologist?
I'd like to touch on what Stefan Dragonspawn said. One of my players has often had his character seduce an NPC, and I thought it added to the role-playing. And later on, he says, we don't go into detail. It just happens off screen.
Yeah.
So I think that's an interesting point too.
That's
And it kind of goes with
Warhammer.
what Scott was saying. I mean, if there's plot development there, then
Right.
of course.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
that's what I did in that Warhammer with my character when we stole the swords.
Exactly.
Like shoulder breast to the guy to
Oh, you're
distract.
notorious for playing, you woman.
Well, like Valera did it just to piss you all off.
Well, no, because we
But
know
yeah, neither.
we know that
But it was all
you
for
wish your real
story.
name was actually Frank Jenner, so don't worry about that.
Yeah.
You look, yeah. So like Blaine and Blaine and Will are both saying, right? So if you look at if you really want to take this verisimilitude to the next level, right, where you're talking about, I got to take a leak, I got to take a shit, I need to bathe, I need to feed my fucking horses, I need to bang a fucking bar person, whatever they are. You're also adventurers, right, in this world, and you're spending so much fucking money per capita that you are essentially ruining a fucking economy of a village if you really looked at it, right?
Yeah.
You're bringing thousands of gold pieces into this fucking place, and suddenly a loaf of bread is unobtainable for a fucking farmer. So when you're in there, you're like, I'm gonna fuck that chick totes, and you're like, yeah, she's gonna fuck you with some roofies because they know who the fuck you are, right? If you really want to go that
Just like
route,
go to Tijuana.
right? Yeah, I mean, hey, have fun. Welcome to the fucking Philippines of fucking Forgotten Realms.
It's kind of like you guys remember the first Conan movie, The Adventurer, I think, where Conan he's released into the wild. And he gets all this money. He goes into town and he's buying dope and has his buddy. And he's getting laid and getting drunk and doing drugs and just going nuts.
Dude, it sounds like a fucking Cheech and Chong movie. No, but it is weird because you bring that, like, one of the things you had on here, Will, is one of your points here was care for beasts of burden. I mean, I suppose if my character gave a fuck about that, yeah, he'd probably worry about that. But me as a player,
Well, usually what it is, Jamie, it's okay. How much? It's 3 weeks travel. Okay, how much food for my horse? Okay, I'll buy it, and then that's it.
right?
Right.
Because
And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just bringing it up as a point of discussion.
but
Yeah.
it makes me
Yeah,
wonder.
I think it's assumed. It's
Yeah.
assumed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's a big part of it too. Just like carrying weight, right, Frank? It's just assumed.
Oh yeah.
You're fucking 10 pounds.
Suddenly, that would
Remember when you're lost in the desert and the guy that cares so much about weight and has all the rations? Deal with it.
That's a different kind of game setting, though, right? That's
Yeah.
like if you're playing a desert or an Arctic setting, then you kind of bend those setting rules a little bit because then you kind of need you can fuck about a bit with the players,
Right, and it's just like with
Yeah.
like if you're playing a game like a zombie survival horror type game, well, of course that kind of shit is completely relevant.
Yeah. You can't walk around with 20 guns in your backpack
Oh, aka
Contrary to-
and thousands
I'm
of
gonna-
rounds of ammo.
Who
You
are
know?
you
I'm
talking
gonna
to,
throw
Blake?
something out there. I'm gonna throw something out there. Having run a zombie survival horror game in Savage Worlds for 18 plus months, yes, you can, and no, you can't, because I just got to the point where it was like, you know what, encumbrance only doesn't matter within reason until it becomes dramatically appropriate.
right, it
So
needs
if-
to move
if
at
you-
the speed
if you
of
got-
plot.
Yeah, now you've got a backpack with 20 guns in it. All right, how much weight's in that backpack? Oh, now that backpack that you've been carrying around and not thinking about suddenly weighs 80 pounds because you're surrounded by a bunch of walkers. You got to get up a tree.
Right.
So you drop in the backpack and climb in the tree. So there's a certain point where you can make encumbrance dramatically important and it becomes part of the narrative where you don't have to worry about the bookkeeping aspect of it session after session after session.
So I think that
Right.
go ahead, Blaine.
I'm just saying I'm just saying the same thing he's saying. It gets to a certain point where you got to be like, okay, look, I don't have a weight restriction on your character, but you're getting a little out of hand. You just cleared out the gun shop and put it in one single bag.
Right.
That's
why-
all I'm saying.
That's like I was saying to Frank on the Deadlands game is, yes, I'll keep harping on this, Frank, is it needs to be abstracted. It needs to be, is it important to the plot? Because at any point, if you don't give a shit about that stuff in the first place, then you need to be man enough, I guess you could say, that when the GM tells you halfway through the session, guess what, you're out of ammo. You need to just roll with it because that's a story that's happening, and it's not a matter of, oh, fuck you, I still had one shot left. You can't go that route. And that's the route I particularly like. And I think we used to do the ultra fucking, Blaine, you only got one ration left. You better roll a survival roll. It's like, dude, come on. It's just, jerk me off. I'm tired of fucking doing this shit.
Well, a lot of my Rangers was like, I would spend an arrow, and it would be important to me when we got to town that I'd have to replenish those arrows. But after over years and years of playing a character,
Definitely 20 arrows. Definitely.
yeah, definitely gotta go to Arrow Mart. But it's just
the
like
oddest.
it just constantly gets to the point where you're like, okay, look, dude, I'm gonna buy some arrows, Jamie. How much? Just throw me 10 gold. I'm like, all right, fine. And it never comes up again.
Hey, Blaine dog, what kind of fucking ranger you playing where you ain't got fucking some kind of woodcrafting fucking skill?
Shit, I don't
Holy
know.
shit, bro. I'm going back to the web YouTube page. Hold on.
I think that
I
that's
should
the
put all my
biggest thing.
characters up online.
When it comes to all this stuff, going back to the original point here, wow, who figured tangent? Look at that rabbit hole. Going back to the original point, I think the biggest thing about it is, okay, actually, this makes me think of something else. If it becomes plot appropriate, then as a GM, do you really want to sit back and go, did you brush your horse today? Because then the player's just going to go, no, why? Yes, no, yes, no, why? So do you have to have that consistency in order to not make it be like, roll a notice roll? Well, then you're kind of giving away the fact that something's about to come up. So do you need to make it plot appropriate, or do you need to actually have some form of consistency so you can catch somebody off guard? Drop the fucking mic. Look at that.
Yeah,
silence.
I'm going to say this. I think that only matters. I'm going to talk about from a system specific point of view, Savage Worlds.
I fuck that game.
I don't believe in the
I quit playing it as of now.
in the surprise. Gotcha, motherfucker. Because if you're gonna make any kind of role in Savage Worlds as a player, you need to be informed going into that whether or not it's important, what the weight of it is, so you can make the decision whether or not to spend a penny. So in that situation, the GM thing for me is give me a notice roll to see if you see the 5 ninja waiting around up the corner.
Right, yeah.
That way, you still get the same amount of tension as a surprise notice roll at the table, but now that the player is informed, they can make a decision about whether it's critical that their character succeeds or doesn't. Because they have that inbuilt mechanic of the Benny, they need to be informed about whether they need to spend pennies on it or not.
Yeah,
Right, with Savage Worlds,
point.
the only way around that really is Danger Sense, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, then at that point, I mean, I don't know. As a GM, I prefer to do things in a sense that's going to surprise the player as well as the character. I mean, of course, we all do. We know that. But you're putting X amount of faith into your player to go roll a notice roll. Well, why? I'll just roll it. Oh, you failed?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Right, and I'm just talking specifically from a Savage World standpoint, because I can reroll any roll.
True.
So they should know what they're getting into. I'm just specifically with Savage Worlds.
Well, like 5e has the passive perception, right? So, I mean, there's ways around it for some game systems, but just, not the good ones.
That's a good point though, because you're always going to get that when the 5 ninjas pop out. Oh, well, I would have rolled a Benny for that notice roll, you know?
Right.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I see what you're saying. That's a good point.
Yeah, I'll give it that.
It becomes a player agency issue with the system. Because they
Savage
have
Worlds, you can't do passive rolls for the players. It's not kosher within the system guidelines.
Ooh, hey, sorry. Morgan put in chat, and this is something we've actually argued about in the past. So what's the encumbrance of a bag of holding?
Nothing.
Exactly.
Let me see. 0 plus 0 divided by 0 is fuck off.
Yeah.
It's extraplanar space. There's literally no weight. It's whatever the stupid burlap sack weighs, I guess.
And and that's something funny too, because at a certain point, wow, look at this. I saw another rabbit hole. At a certain point, as a GM, you have to go, fuck, dude, come on, enough is enough. And let me bring up the name again, Lyndon. You're going to listen to this, and you're going to fucking probably say something. But Lyndon, he had a dwarf way back in the day who had a bag of holding, which in fucking D&D, who the fuck didn't have a bag of holding? And he had like 10 shields or something like that, or maybe it was 8, whatever the case may be, of various dragon scale shields. So at one
collecting
point,
them.
Yeah, at one
Munchkin.
point, no, he's really actually not a munchkin at all. You'd be very surprised, dude. He's actually a really good role player. But at that point, it was just like he could justify it, I guess, for lack of better words, by saying his character was collecting them and this and that and the other thing. But as a GM, at one point, do you go, yeah, dude, one of those fucking shields just totally ripped that bag and put you in the fucking 9th layer of hell?
Nah, man, you gave the fucking magic item to him, so you got to live with that fucking consequence.
Right?
Exactly. And a bag of holding has a space that you can fill, and if it's 300 shields, sorry, brother, that's the way it is.
I'm about to drop this fucking call, dude.
Sorry, man.
You're just be glad it wasn't a portable hole.
Fucking magic item. You don't tell the player there's suddenly a limit.
Well, yeah, that takes me back.
And you know what, Scott? That's like something that we could bring up in another discussion is how many magical items is too much magical items and what's powerful and what's not. And a bag of holding or a portable hole are fucking absolutely one of the more powerful items you could have.
But so fucking
but
common,
dude. It doesn't really unbalance the system. That's the point. And the fact is, we're playing a role-playing game in a fantasy world. Why can't I have a bag of holding for each of my characters?
I'm saying you can't. I'm just saying.
It's,
what Jamie just said is that last shield is going to bust it. Why are you going to fuck with a guy like that?
Let me tell you.
Oh, you put that last shield and it breaks his back.
Let me tell you why. Black Dragon, you say? One moment, sir. Let me reach in my bag of holding and pull out my Black Dragon scale armor.
That's why I said Munchkin, goddammit, because he just suddenly happens to have fucking resistance based on elemental types, right?
He didn't ever pull
I'm collecting them.
He didn't ever pull that bullshit on me as a GM, but what I'm saying is there are players that can definitely do that. So like I say, at what point do you fucking play some type of fucking lawyer with your player and say, okay, dude,
it sounds like all you need to do is ban bag of holding. Okay, next topic.
You do it by never putting that in the game in the first place.
Yeah, that's what it said. Yeah,
because we went off the fucking books back then. We were learning the system. That's why.
Okay, you destroy that motherfucker, or you have someone take it.
You know what? The bag of holding or a portable hole is a great failsafe to get away from the gold and all the other shit, all the other loot you guys collect. Because you guys just throw it in there and it costs no weight.
Right. That
matter
was
of fact.
Big B brought up the stolen thing in the chat.
What's that?
Right. Yeah. I don't. What's that?
I said Big B brought it up. I agree. If you gave the item, but now if it's stolen.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Those serial numbers might come back hot on that thing, right?
Oh, well, let me ask, what's the problem with them having a bag of holding?
I'm saying Jamie doesn't want them to have access to the shit, what's in there.
Yeah. Well, what Jamie's talking about with Lyndon's character was he was collecting every single shield that was above normal on every thing that we were going on. I guess character wealth wise, maybe that might be an issue. I don't know.
No. Here would be my thing. The bag of holding is a burlap sack, right?
What leather, dog balls,
whatever.
Dog scrotum.
Whatever.
One fire arrow or fireball takes care of that problem.
Right? Yeah. I mean, you could destroy.
You should critical hits. Critical hit should hit your bag of holding and destroy it.
But then you're a GM, right?
Well, don't target the magic item. You target the player with like a fucking alchemist fire, and you're like, hey, by the way, let's have this verisimilitude you all like, and let's just start rolling fucking fire damage for all your shit.
Hold on a second. That barbarian put a +5 great axe in your chest, but the orc war chieftain's targeting your bag of holding with the fireball.
That motherfucker knows.
Or you wake up, you're unconscious, you wake up in the orc camp completely stripped and tied, and all your shit's gone.
With a sore asshole.
There you go. I mean, if it's plot appropriate, you're not being a dick. Yeah, right?
Well, guys,
sore assholes are always plot appropriate.
I don't know how we got from
Frank. See what I mean about Frank. See what I mean about Frank? When he says something, it's important.
It's needed to be said.
I don't know how we got to this, but you remember from the last few sessions of Horde of the Dragon Queen, I gave you guys a fuck ton of magical items that you never used.
Like what?
You guys had a bag of holding. You had plus X and Y. I have to look it up. But rings, potions, and shit you guys never used.
Well, Daxter didn't give a fuck about none of that shit.
We're magic rich.
Unless it was a fucking ever full mug of ale, Daxter didn't give a shit.
I actually didn't I give him one of those?
Yeah, you did.
No, I did not never get one of those. Fuck no. If that was the case, Daxter would be running around making con checks every 10 fucking minutes.
So that was you're right. That was a different quest.
But at any rate, it's we're way off topic now.
No,
Which is not unusual.
not at all.
But all these magical items came out that you guys never used. But anyway, moving on.
Moving on. Okay, so let's go on to the next fucking topic here. And I'd be very interested to see what Scott and Jerrod have to say about this. And Will, I'm sorry, but I look at this one as being 100% your opinion. If everybody else proves me wrong, prove me wrong. Will put, why do evil sessions seem to be more fun?
I'll back away. Let everybody else talk.
Frank, you started out, your very first RPG character ever was in an evil session. What did you think?
Right. Oh, well, Will was awful at GM, so I don't know, man.
Aside from that.
I think it's because evil, you have a little bit more freedom to do what you want versus good. It seems like good kind of people always go that straight line no matter what. Even if you're kind of bad, you still follow that straight line. As an evil, it's kind of like, you know what, fuck the line. Do whatever you want. And that's kind of, I think that freedom is more fun because that is exactly the opposite of real life, where you can just do whatever.
What kind of evil are you talking that you played? Are you talking like, you went out and you were kidnapping people's pets and raping them and hanging out from trees and shit? Or were you just like, bah, I can kill whoever the fuck I want?
Or we're Black Jedi.
There's varying degrees of debauchery, right?
Right.
For us, those characters were like, I'm going to take this fucker's shit and kill him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we decapitated a guy, burned his house down. I got decapitated.
That was later.
So you're a gangbang, essentially.
Well, essentially, it was a I don't know 4 or 5 session thing that we ran. It was called Evil Notorgi. Look it up if you'd like. But basically, you had a party that was traveling from the southern Sword Coast up into the Daragost, Baldur's Gate area that were just a bunch of dickheads, right? And they were looking to make money, and they robbed some poor drunk soul and cut his head off. I don't know. I don't think they cut his head off, but they killed him in his sleep.
We did.
Because we had to bring his head back to that guy, didn't we?
Right.
Oh, you're thinking that was a different part of the same thing, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, they killed people for the game.
Okay.
And it was a whole lot of fun to GM.
Well,
because it was like
Junebug039 brings something up in chat, and I absolutely agree with this. Junebug said, hardly anyone plays evil correctly anyway. And I totally agree with that. And I really wish Ant was on this episode for this, because he said it best. I mean, we've talked about it in the past. One paladin's version of good is completely different from another paladin's version of good. So one character's version of evil is completely different from someone else. I don't care if that fucking little handbook tells you need to be lawful evil, chaotic evil, neutral evil. It doesn't matter. To play a truly evil character is not to come out and put out a neon sign and click the little fucking chain and say, "Look at me, I'm bad."
Right? Yeah.
Well, then how can you say nobody plays it correctly then?
Because Ant did the best job I've ever fucking heard.
Retarded and they're limiting.
I disagreed with that because my evil may not be Ant's evil. My evil character may be a neon sign evil because there are people in real life that are neon sign evil.
Well, they are, but at the same time, let's look at it realistically from a game standpoint, okay? If you walked up and, to quote somebody that put it in chat, but it's basically Slipknot line, I'm going to slit your throat and fuck the wound. That's right out in the open, so how long is your evil character really going to last? He's not. So to play an evil character in a role-playing game, you have to do the sly bullshit, underhanded shit, burn the guy in the fucking city, but hope to God you don't get caught.
See, I'd have to disagree with that, because you could have a psychopath that doesn't give a shit, that does have that neon sign that says, I don't care what they think. Or you could have the intelligent bad guy that does be evil. I would actually take Ant's version of Sandbox when you say a true evil campaign cannot exist in RPG because it would be too much chaos.
Yeah, like if I was playing a thief, I wouldn't play the bullshit D&D like, oh, I'm a thief, wink, wink, nod, nod, but not to you guys, right? And when we got to the city, I'd be like, hey, fuckers, fucking West Side, I'm going to go hang out with my fucking homies and we're going to fucking bang at the fucking local gang, right? Because that's who my people are. You motherfuckers I travel with, because one of you can protect me, one of you can heal me, and one of you is fucking super smart. Me, I'm all tatted up and shit. I got multiple teardrops. I've done time in fucking Greyhawk cells, sucking dick. So that's kind of that out there evil you're talking about, right?
I would say, yeah. I mean, if you go full evil, then you couldn't even have a campaign because it would be chaos.
Yeah.
Why would I stick with these people if I'm pure evil?
Well, no, it's not true. Like, and you know, there's folks can back this up. It's like gangbangers of a gang will stick together, right?
Right.
They turn on each other. Yes, that is true. They will turn on each other. They will feed it on one another. But for the most part, you could hold a gang together. There's gangs that have been together for decades, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's dependent on evil of who you are. But if you go out and just say, oh, well, this evil isn't right because it should be like this.
Well, a serial killer isn't going to hang with gangbangers, right?
Exactly.
I mean, right. So yeah, you got to kind of. There is a lot of truth to what you're saying. It's difficult to mix those varying shades of vile.
Right. And that's what I say. The way you run your evil is the way you run your evil. Can it be reality evil? No, but that's because that's why it's a fantasy role-playing game, because it's not reality.
Let me interject here, especially to these two Savage Worlds guys that are 100% Savage Worlds guys by the show that I see on my phone. Necessary Evil. Have you either one of you guys played that?
I've ran it.
Okay, so how does that work with those?
I haven't because I'm not a Super's character. Well, evil doesn't mean psychotic.
Thank you, Jerrod. I love you. I'm giving you a California hug. I'm not a Super's guy.
I'm not a superhero guy. I don't like supers. But
I'm not a Super's guy, but I got fucked into it. So go ahead, Jerrod.
It'll tell you one of the directions that I know we're given in that book is evil does not equal psychotic.
No, not at all. No, and you're villains, right? But the premise is, and this is where evil, even the most psychotic, deluded fucking idiot, the premise is the space aliens came down, all the good people, like the fucking good douchebags they would be, all gathered up to fucking welcome these dickheads, and they all got murdered. So all that's left are the villains. Well, you can't villain when the aliens have anti-superpower materials and devices. So you join up, but you don't just join up willingly. You're actually coerced by the main bad guy, Dr. Destruction.
I hate that guy.
Not making it up.
He's a fucking asshole.
So you're coerced into doing this, and you have to work together. But there's that bigger
Dr. Doom was already taken.
Right, basically. The sooner you get rid of the aliens, the sooner you can get back to fucking off against each other, right, and having your nefarious plots. But for this one moment, you have a common enemy.
But, okay, so I understand that point of the whole common enemy thing. But at some point, if you're playing a evil character correctly, at least in my opinion, I don't give a fuck what the chat is saying right now. If you're playing an evil character correctly, you're always plotting against the other players.
Absolutely.
So
and that happens.
That's true.
Yeah, Necessary Evil will run properly. You're going to have those side plots and side quests because you're still building your character, right? If you're not, and a lot of people fall into we're actually heroes, but we're just we're mustache twirly. But you got the really good players, and I had a few who were like, "Oh, fuck this motherfucker! Here's some secret chat messages I'm sending you as my game master, like daily, of the things I'm taking steps to prepare for when we eventually win. I'm gonna murder this motherfucker who thinks he's Iron Man."
Right, and we had that exact situation come up years ago. Blaine and Will, you guys will remember when Blaine, you played some type of fucking assassin, and Will, you played, I think it was the psychotic orc that had multiple personalities, and Lyndon played a character whose only goal was to be a lich. So from my end, as a DM, I'll say DM at that time because it was D&D, it was 100% me going, how the fuck am I going to handle this, dude? Because it's either going to actually be like really cool or a fucking fist fight out in the fucking court, because these guys are all working to fuck each other right now.
That brings me to my point. I've been kind of waiting, but if you look at Frank's character,
hold on, Blaine, let me go first.
She basically got killed.
Sorry, Blaine.
She basically got killed in character. I mean, by the party. And then if you look at that session, if you're looking at that session you're talking about, Jamie, we had basically the same thing. We had a stand down in the middle of the streets where it was like, you go your way, I'll go my way. I hope we never meet again. So basically, I look at evil campaigns as short term. Yes, because you're always going to have that internal conflict. But everybody's out for themselves.
But to go back to Will's original point he had in the show notes was, what makes evil campaigns more fun? Me personally, I don't think they're more fun. I think they're short term.
Well,
I mean,
short term is correct, but what makes them more fun is you're able to be somebody you're not. You're able to slip it to somebody, and you're able to, man, I could rob this guy slit his throat, steal his gold, and just have a good time doing it, and sleep at night.
It's proof of concepts, right? Like everyone fantasizes about, am I smart enough to rob a fucking bank, right? That's not a good act. You're stealing fucking money. You're committing heinous deeds, and you're likely going to end up in a fucking gunfight with LEOs, right, and the feds. So, but yeah, you're right, Will. Like that, this is your chance to cut loose and be like, hey, let's see how fucking smart I am and how good this character would be at doing this.
Well, that's what it's like. That's how I thought with Valera. I mean, she was an addict. She took sexual recourse from sawing people's heads off, and then when Lyndon's character stopped that, she stopped caring. The party didn't matter. It was, you took something very important away from me. We're going toe to toe. And that's why I would say, I like the evil, because it frees you up to say, you know what, fuck the party, fuck the goal. This is my character. They do what they want. And they can murder, they can steal, they can, have orgies, they can do whatever they want, because they don't really care about that goal outcome that a good campaign they do. And that's what it felt different to me.
So let me go ahead.
Go ahead, Scott.
So let me put my amateur anthropologist hat on. So evil also is a very loose description of cultural values, right? I bring this up to people who argue about fucking alignment. I'm an Aztec paladin. Am I good or evil?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. I'm a crusader lopping off the heads of Islam.
Yeah, right?
Am I good?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, you could go, and depending on where you live, Valera could be a good person.
Right.
Versus here, she's a psychopath. But
it's been said before too, right? That the best villains are the ones who do not think of themselves as villains.
Right. They're convinced that they're right, morally right.
The Darth Vaders of the universe have a clear path. They know what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Well, you look at Daesh in our real world, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean,
I've never liked Darth Vader. I like Lex Luthor more for that, because Lex Luthor always felt he was the correct one. That Superman was an evil super alien, while Darth Vader was more controlled to do what he needed to do.
I think that Darth Vader knew what he was doing was not good, and it was all about the power. I don't know if that's a bad example.
He was more controlled. He wasn't the maker of his destiny. Someone guided.
No.
Hold on. For love,
I got something to say.
Hold on. Being a Star Wars guy, I'm going to say this. The story they tell in the Revenge of the Sith, it's totally about his turn from the Order, because the Order is doing evil, questionable things. And what he does, he ultimately does for true love.
Yeah.
Not only that, you got to look at the Emperor's outlook on the galaxy. He's trying to bring order to a chaotic galaxy.
If you said the Emperor, I would agree, because I think the Emperor is kind of the very same thing as Lex Luthor. They believe that their version of order and control is right, not evil or wrong, that it is the correct path.
Right. But if you take a look at it, like the Jedi Council basically puts Anakin, gives him the title of Master, does not allow him to be on the Council, which is not unheard of.
It was a political move.
And they're asking him to do questionable, unethical things, like spy on the Senator.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, wait, you guys are the Patreons are good.
I just think George Lucas did a horrible job getting the damn story point across.
Oh, I didn't say
so
Lucas.
hard.
I didn't say Lucas is a great storyteller. I didn't say that. I'm just saying that it makes Anakin slide from being good to being quote unquote evil easier, because the Jedi are also gray.
Right, but I also do believe that Sidious was a fucking genius, and he without him, that would have not happened. Anakin would have never turned. I don't believe that he would ever actually have turned. I think Sidious was, like, I love Sidious. That's the only reason I ever say, if you want to watch the prequels, the only reason you watch them is to watch Palpatine or Sidious and what he does, because that is genius.
I really think that the watching that and reading that is the Jedi Order was kind of on a road to
self-destruction.
Doing things. Yes, exactly. There you go. And we'll see what happens now with the new canon and the new episodes, but we're getting way off topic now.
Yeah.
No, we don't do that around here.
Whatever.
Well,
Ever.
I think, to answer the question, I think that the reason
This is an
that,
evil campaign. We're not going for the goal.
that,
There you
that
go.
people think that players probably most likely enjoy an evil session is because they get the carte blanche to actually be the worst of the worst, bloodthirsty, murdering hobo, Viking raider whores in the game, and they get a stamp of approval from the GM.
See, that's what I think it goes back to what I originally said. It's just you have that freedom. That freedom
what
there.
is
You can do whatever.
What's really different? We're sort of looking at a higher concept, right? Because in every fucking role-playing game, right, except for some of the dippy hippie bullshit games, you're basically murder hobos. You're killing fucking untold legions of goblins, hobgoblins, orcs, kobolds, the so-called evil
dude.
races. So you're getting your murder on.
I hope you're
The
not
only
giving me this
difference is-
fucking orcs have feelings bullshit.
No, I'm not going that way. What I'm saying is what you're looking at when you're saying that
Move
evil
back to
is fun.
Canada.
No, when you're saying evil is fun, now you're saying I'm bringing more sheep into that pen for the slaughter. I'm not just limiting it to what the game and that culture at the table has told me is acceptable. Now I'm going to stab the fucking elves and the dwarves and the halflings. Well, you should always kill halflings and gnomes and the humans, right? So there's a higher level concept to this of this evil campaign because you're getting your murder on all the time in the game.
That goes into character motivation and all that kind of shit. I mean, that's a deeper
Absolutely.
thing than just saying I'm playing an evil character, though.
Absolutely.
I think what it boils down to, Scott. I think what it boils down to, Scott, is if you have to watch your back because of your actions, you might be evil. Now, of course, that's going to depend on where you are. But if you go to a town and you see wanted posters of your ass everywhere, you might want to think about probably playing your character evil. You know what I mean?
But depending
Yeah,
on the
absolutely.
area, you could still be a good person and go into an evil town and have
Exactly. And that comes into play with the paladin of a certain tribe being looked at as good by his tribe.
Right. So if people were curious about it, and the setting didn't get a lot of traction, unfortunately, I ran it a couple of times. The midnight, right? So Sauron wins. There's orcs everywhere. There's fucking conspirators everywhere. The humans that are controlled by the forces of evil are willing to sell you the fuck out. You can't walk around with weapons, right? So as player characters, you have to form a fucking insurgency. You form a fucking terror cell to take on the forces of evil, knowing you're never going to win. You're not going to kill the main bad guy because he's a fucking fallen god, right? He's the only god that exists at this point.
Some call it insurgent, some call it rebellion, whatever.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, because a lot of people, when we ran Midnight, my players were really shocked because one of the moments was they were given walking orders by the Elven Queen, and she said, hey, I need you to go to this town in the south, right? There's the forces of evil haven't showed up there yet, but there's some fucking guys who are there. They're agents that I need you to take care of, and the only opportunities that it looks like you're going to have is trail them and figure out where they're meeting, and when you find that, you need to fucking destroy the entire meeting hall. And that meeting hall was in the basement of a fucking temple of good, right? And they were just like, I don't know what to do. We're like, well, you have your fucking marching orders, and you have to slay evil, so it's in your court. What do you
There
guys
you go, Morgan. There you go. One man's terrorist, another man's freedom fighter.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the fucking...
absolutely. So Midnight is a setting you could people should
Or
try
they
out.
write a Declaration of Independence and
Well,
everyone
let me-
thinks they're heroes, depending on what side you're on. And
I'm going to throw this one out real quick. In your evil campaign as evil players, what if you were told that you had to go slaughter a whole town of children because they were a threat?
It happens, right? Children of the fucking corn.
Boy, that's a
Gotta
fucking
be.
gotta crack a few eggs to make an
Anakin
omelet.
in the Jedi Temple.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, because you're
So-
looking at right.
So you're evil, McEvil, don't give a fuck.
right.
Now, as a player and a character, how do you deal with here? I want you to slaughter 300 children under the
I
age
think
of
that
3.
also depends on the type of evil your character is. Is your character money driven? Does your character psychopathic, not give a shit whatsoever? Or
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if you have a player at the table that has doesn't even blink and says, "Okay," you need to stop playing with that fucking guy.
Yeah, that might be a fucking problem.
I'd like to touch on the Anne Rice vampire interview with a vampire storyline where you have a little girl who's basically turned into a vampire. Now, not by choice, obviously, but what do you do in that situation? It's kind of the same thing. You know, she's obviously evil, but is she?
And what you really want to fuck with your players, right? So a good gaming session about a vampire isn't just you like murder hoboing through a vampire spawns, right? That would be perfect because if you allow the characters to do their research and they find out like this little girl had cancer, right? Fucking horrific. Right. But her only chance to continue existence was as a vampire. I mean, you gotta, then I think you can explore fucking deeper.
Her parents made a deal with the devil,
shades.
or you find out, that her sire is a sick, twisted motherfucker,
right?
Who turned her just to torture for no other reason, just to torture her.
Many Shades of Evil. That's the new
heresy.
Heresy.
But I think it's summed up best as evil is as evil does. That's all I gotta say about that.
Thank you, Forrest Gump.
So why do evil sessions? Why do evil sessions seem more fun to me personally? It's because I'm able to play a character whether I know he's going to get killed off soon or not. I can play a character who can be chaotic or do whatever the hell he wants, and just kind of have that freedom at the table to just be explosive with my character.
See, but,
that's all there is to it.
But for me,
it's
totally
a palate
different.
cleanse, right?
But for me,
it's
it's
just
totally
fun
different.
to be able to kill and maim and just go wild.
For me, dude, it's all about telling the grand story, the underdog or whatever. But again, that's to me. If you guys are saying fucking raping nuns is awesome, then great. If that's what makes it fun for you. But for me,
I think that's the difference between an evil and a good. A good is about the grand story. Evil is about the personal story.
And absolutely, yeah, brother.
No, I call bullshit.
How's it bullshit? Because evil is more about what my character does, what I care about with my character story, versus good is usually my character plus the grand scheme. Get to that goal, while an evil is like, fuck the goal, I don't care about your goal.
But if your character's only story-driven thing is to make the land better, I could be a good character and play with the fucking
That's still a grand goal.
evil fucking assassin. My personal goal is to make things better. That's why I call bullshit on that. It's not a...
No, because you're still trying to go for a grand goal.
Okay, so as an evil character, if your grand goal is to take over an entire continent, isn't that still a grand goal?
Well,
is that grand goal?
It's more of a personal goal, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
How many stories have you heard?
Goal go with the campaign and everyone else's goal? That's the difference. You have to separate a grand goal, a campaign goal, and a personal.
So
goal.
then, let's say you sat down.
That's
and you
kind of
played
like
some
what Star Wars is like with the I forgot what they're called.
To use the same example that you used earlier, let's say you're sitting down and play Star Wars. Frank, you rolled up Sidious. Blaine, you rolled up Darth Maul. Will, you rolled up Count Dooku. Isn't that still a group goal?
Someone got fucked.
No, because
bullshit.
Sidious had a personal goal, and he said, "Fuck Maul and Dooku." He doesn't care about them. That was his personal goal to take over. He didn't care about the rest of them.
Okay,
so he lied to those guys, right? Because only one apprentice.
But if I rolled up a paladin and said, "Fuck this assassin who's lawful evil. I want to make the land better," how's that any different?
Well, that's why I said it depends on what the campaign goal is.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna get into.
So look at Magneto is evil, but he
if the campaign goal is to kill this king over here, but your goal is to I want to make this land over here better. That's different.
How's it any different than saying I want to make this land evil?
No one said.
I would interject this. Play 3 or 4 sessions as evil characters, and then hand those over to the GM to be NPCs that your heroes go up against.
Yes,
that's a very good way. Yes,
that would be awesome.
That's a very
carry that forward.
I
think you're going to get a much richer story experience as a GM and as players that way, because now you understand intimately the evil characters that your hero good characters are going to go face.
Yeah, you got days of motivation, right? And they all know too, like, God, that motherfucker! I made the ultimate hunting machine. God damn.
Okay, Scott, Jerrod, what you guys don't understand about this show is we argue in circles, so we don't appreciate it when you stop the argument with good thoughts. Let's move on. Eric Lamoureux. Eric, put it in chat. I actually got your name right. He actually has kind of an interesting question, and I really thought about this, and I was like, I don't have a fucking answer, but he had a good question. He put, which celebrity would you play an RPG session with, and which game would it be? He would personally play some Deadlands Reloaded with Clint Eastwood. And I started thinking about this, and I'm like, I maybe Evernight was Selma Hayek. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the
I know
answer is.
what mine is, hands down.
What?
Okay.
Mine hands down would be to play Vampire the Masquerade with Christopher Walken.
Oh shit!
Man,
Nice.
I'm sorry,
Nice.
Jerrod, but I fucking bit you.
Wow.
There's a Sombra waiting for you.
Okay, I got two answers. And they're both lame, but I'll say them anyway. The first one is strip poker with any of the models from Victoria's
RPG
Secret.
game. RPG.
Damn.
All right.
Blaine can't read.
The second one is any role-playing game, preferably like D&D or Savage Worlds, with any of the characters from Big Bang Theory, because all of them are gamers, and I've read bios on them. So I'm just saying, I know it's cheesy. That's where I'd go.
I would go whatever fucking game with Olivia Wilde, fuck the game. Or D&D with Vin Diesel.
That's
Yeah.
Oh yeah, perfect.
But that one seems so cliche to me because I was like the first thing that went in my head, but I was like, that's the expected.
No, but then you get to see how a Mary Sue works in real life. Oh, I went.
All right, guys, I'm sorry. I would play Og with Jim Carrey.
Right,
Awesome.
right, yeah. Jim Carrey would be great for something like
Fuck
that.
yeah.
I
thought about-
Samuel L. Jackson.
I thought about Og with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I was thinking maybe Conan with Arnold Schwarzenegger would be fun.
No, dude, I would play Og with the guy who played Mongo in Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
I would have to. Goddamn, Will,
No.
you won, Will. You absolutely won the internet for the day, dude. Because Og. Okay, something else here. Stefan Dragonspawn. I love this question. I absolutely love this question.
Christ.
We have a bunch of GMs on the fucking call here, so this is a good question. He said, "Do you roll behind the screen or for all players to see?" So, what I'm gonna put into that just a touch further is, as a GM, do you fudge the rolls?
Clearly, you've never listened to our show.
No, please tell me.
The answer is not no, not hell no. It's
Nope.
hell motherfucking no.
Really?
Fuck no. Fuck you.
All rolls out in front.
Yep.
I do not obfuscate anything as a GM in Savage
Nope.
Worlds.
I
You
wanna
want to know
see
what
that
the dragon's
thing come.
toughness is? I'm glad to show you a 20 toughness.
Oh shit!
Just to watch the look of bewilderment on your face.
Yep.
I don't
Fucking great.
hide.
It changes
anything.
nothing about the game if they know
Yeah.
what the fucking toughness and parry is. And if
Yeah.
you change your roll, if you're fudging, you're fucking. It's not that you're cheating. If you're already predetermining what the
No, you're
outcome
cheating.
is.
No,
You're
oh,
you're fucking
it's
cheating.
cheating.
Oh,
You're like,
hold on.
Hold on.
I have
Hold
an
on.
absolute argument to that.
I will-
Especially when you talk about Savage Worlds, dude. I will say, especially when you talk about Savage Worlds, with the fact that those dice explode. Here we are, session one. This guy has got a fucking 6-foot erection with the cheeseburger on the end because he is so happy about this character he rolled up, and you fucking put him up against the first big baddie, and you ace.
Yep.
Sorry about your character.
That doesn't mean he's dead. You still have to make fucking incapacitation rolls.
Yeah, but let's say he fucks those off.
That he has
That's
a
too
permanent
bad.
injury.
You got Benny.
And he has a
Well,
permanent
hopefully
injury.
he made a
Yeah.
second character.
Then you have setting rules. You have setting rules in Savage Worlds where you
yeah.
can say, look, heroes never die. That's a setting rule out of the book.
That's very true. I'll give you that one.
Problem solved. Suck a dick.
Now here's the other thing too.
Scott, you're welcome on this show anytime,
fucker.
dude.
I will
Playing fucking inferior game systems like D&D and fucking make-believe Star Wars and shit.
right.
Whoa,
I will up the ante
Whoa.
on
Whoa.
rolling in front of the characters. as GM.
whoa.
Because I like to fuck with my player whenever there's an opposed roll. For example, I rarely use bennies for my NPCs to soak. Rarely. So if you one-shot my big baddie, all right, he's going down. You one-shot the big bad. However, when he intimidates you and I roll a 10, I go, that's not good enough. And I'll drop a benny until I get it.
bitch!
Oh, okay. We all love
And I will
Mulligans.
show them, look how hard this roll is going to be for you to overcome, because now I'm spending my bennies, bitch. Go ahead. Beat a 20.
The only system that I am 100% myself as a GM that I am 100% in compliance with rolling out in front of everybody, and I still have yet to do it, but the one I am willing to do that on is the new Fantasy Flight Star Wars system. And the reason for that is because that system is so focused on everybody at the table telling the story. So if a big baddie fucks off, I love presenting that to my players and saying, ooh, tell me what you think would go wrong with this motherfucker's despair. But
I'd do that with Savage Worlds.
I don't like doing that in Savage Worlds because okay, let's say, for example, I'm going up against, let's say Will and I are playing a session, right? And he's got a character who is going solo against 7 different fucking characters. I'm, as a GM, is getting horrible rolls tonight. Yes, hand solo. I, as a
always
GM,
stroking his own Wookiee,
am getting horrible rolls tonight, but Will just cannot stop fucking acing those dice. So it's cheapening Will because now all of a sudden he's just blowing through everybody. Whereas a GM, I'm like, I'm rolling horrible. Well, I'd like to give the player a little bit of a challenge.
Hold on.
Whoa,
Will,
why does that cheapen
would you be?
Will?
Are you having a good time killing these motherfucking extras left and right?
So what happens when he sees that dragon? He's gonna go, I got this.
Well, that's his problem. He's a fucking
that's his
6 foot tall
problem. Exactly.
dude. Goddamn 30-foot guy.
Exactly. I mean, here's the thing. We agreed that when we can't agree, we roll dice.
Yeah.
And we let dice decide.
Yeah,
Who
it's
am I
like
as
me
a GM
coming
to
from
go, I don't
Cthulhu.
like what the dice decided?
That's the whole point
It's
of the
like me
extra.
coming
Is to
from
be cannon
Cthulhu.
fodder.
If they try to fight a fucking Migo or something,
Yeah.
well, have
Right.
fun with that character because you're getting ready to roll a new one.
I'm gonna share this, right? Like I created a zombie survival horror setting that makes The Walking Dead look like fucking Sesame Street. We had gritty damage from Realms of Cthulhu, which means not only do your wound penalties apply, you don't get to soak.
Yeah.
You go straight into the wound system.
Yeah, Deadlands
And
One
then,
is the same way.
then there's a updated incapacitation table that very easily results in your death, if not a permanent injury. I had players in that game for 18 months who loved it.
Yeah.
And never once went, you're being an asshole, you're being a dick.
Yeah.
I think that when GMs tend to, oh God, I got to fudge the dice, or, oh, this random thing that's happened, I didn't want to happen. Well, then you shouldn't have called for the fucking roll, number one.
Absolutely.
If you didn't want to leave it up to chance. Number two, GMs don't kill characters. Players' poor decisions and bad dice.
The hell you don't.
Okay, hold on. Let me interrupt on that. Stefan Dragonspawn put something very good in there. Traps. Let's say you're dealing with the trap. And me as a player, I have horrible rolls. Let's put it in D&D. I'm rolling nothing but ones all fucking night. We have all had those nights. So now you're going to fuck off the player when you're rolling damage because he's having a bad night?
So the good news is in D&D, you've got a fucking metagame, right, of counting down hit points.
Well, yeah.
Right?
I give you that.
So you're not probably going to die from a trap. So, I mean, again, problem
There's
solved.
magical traps out there, dude, that will absolutely butt fuck you dry.
I'm sure. Is that going to kill your character outright?
On good enough rolls, yes.
So also, F20 is designed around the principle, right, where
My keyboard
encounter
only goes
balance
up to F12.
is. I don't say D20 because it's really F20. It's more than the D20 product that they put out. It expands out. But yeah, like encounter balance, which I don't personally believe in, is paramount in an F20 game. Right, that's the whole point. You had 3, 3, 5. 5e still has the fucking encounter balance systems where it's like, hey, you better watch your encounter economy or you're gonna fuck your players because we know how brittle they are or are not at this level.
Yes.
And nothing at their level, at their ECL or the CL is going to kill them outright with one shot. Not going to happen.
No, I agree with that. Believe me, the whole hit points thing is a completely different thing that we have on a topic on the show notes. But I just think
Is
that
it?
there's... Yeah, oh God, yes, there is. Fuck, dude. Give me a 12-pack in 6 hours and I will make everybody hate me. But the thing is I want my players to feel heroic. I want my players to feel accomplished with a challenge. So especially like Frank, you're talking like Call of Cthulhu or something like that. Yes, there's a side of the screen that I understand of you pulled a gun. I hope you have another character in your back pocket. I get that in a system like Call of Cthulhu. But at the same time, I have a problem with like what I was saying was this guy is so excited I'll cheers you, Blaine, is so excited about this character he's put so much love and effort into just as a GM because you're rolling fucking fantastic tonight. You pulled out the dice that are meant to butt fuck everybody. And I'm acing and acing and acing.
Hold on. What's the situation that we're talking about? Is this the characters had an encounter with something and they chose combat?
If a GM puts it in front of you, aren't you going to most times accept it and put trust into your GM?
No. So my table doesn't do that, right? My table knows that I will not force them to kill a thing because it's a kobold or it's an orc. They know that they can engage in diplomacy and dialogue and have a chance of figuring out, hey, can we get the fuck around this encounter without murdering shit, or do we have to mow through these, right?
Excuse me,
it comes from
kobold. I am
well,
here
it comes from no, because if you're a murder hobo GM, your monsters have nothing to them. You're basically K's of Chaos, and we're going to move from encounter to encounter to encounter. But like for one of the encounters that my party remembers is there was a kobolds who they thought had begun murdering villagers, right? Well, they get there and the kobolds had a gold mine, and they hadn't been murdering the villagers. There was no evidence of them murdering the villagers. In fact, the kobolds had been afflicted by the same thing that had been going on in the village. So the kobolds are also victims. And the party had a conversation amongst themselves, like, all right, well, what do we do about this? We can just kill these motherfuckers. They obviously have a gold mine because our thief told us they have a gold mine. And actually, they chose to engage the kobolds. I don't ever push for anything. I have a completely free-form table where it is what it is with the players.
No.
So if your party's getting into a fight, that's not your fucking problem.
I agree with that to an extent because there's times that I put my players up against shit that was really overpowered because it was supposed to help tell the story to, planting those seeds for future encounters, make the bad guy happen now. I get that, but at the same time, they're players, man. They want to be the heroic one. They want to be the ones to save the day.
Okay,
now,
so
if they were dumb enough to go up against a fucking ancient red dragon at level 2, sorry, fuck you guys. You deserve death.
So there's something you can use. You can take from Savage Worlds this little thing. It's a setting rule, and I use it in basically everything I run. And you can apply it to every game system, right? To make it interesting. Your big bad guy, when he's doing his dialogues and monologuing, right? And he's just like, hey, this is how it is. You guys are going to suck some dick right now because I'm going to fuck you up. Here's who I am. And they go, I'm going to kill this guy. You use the fanatic setting rule, where when they roll that hit and it's successful, they don't hit the big bad guy. One of his fucking minions jumps in front of the fucking blow to sacrifice themselves. And that imparts a fucking psychological truth that, oh my God, there's motherfuckers willing to die for this dude.
Okay, so how do you handle the rules lawyer that said, well, he was 6 squares away and it wasn't his turn?
It doesn't matter. It's a setting rule, and that's implicit in something like Savage Worlds, and even in D&D, you can say, "Look, here's a house rule before we get started. I'm using a fanatics. Here's how I will explain it, and it's going to piss people off. Yeah, it's basically adding a hit point, right? But you're taking away that attack, and you're allowing your big people because you sound like your goal is to have a monologue to impart to the party. I am your fucking villain. You're going to be used to dealing with the next X amount of sessions. Get used to it.
So now, you can also employ the Heroes Never Die setting rule, which basically the Savage World says any damage that would result in the character's death does not result in their death. They are incapacitated and show up at a later date and time.
And most games don't kill characters anymore. D&D 5th edition, it's actually difficult to kill a character, right?
It's very hard.
Fantasy Flight games, Star Wars, you're not going to kill anybody. Savage Worlds, you have a way around it with a setting rule. Most modern game, Fate doesn't kill anybody unless you really wanted to, right? It just those days are behind us.
Except for Call of Cthulhu.
Call of Cthulhu is a different you should die in Call of Cthulhu. I believe every session should end with very minimal success and mass amounts of death and suicide. Every successful Call of Cthulhu game I've ever run ended with someone committing suicide at the end of the session as the last person alive.
Well, one of my players killed the other player, so
right, yeah,
I figured
and that's how it should
successful.
go. But they had a good time, right? And that's Call of Cthulhu is a different beast.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so I'm not going to ask you guys about fudging rolls anymore.
Hang on, I'm gonna bring this up because she's asked it like 17 times in chat.
All right.
This is probably more for the Savage Worlds guys.
Ileana.
Ileana. How do you feel about child characters who devote their one choice of major hindrance to something that isn't young, and how would you handle such a character?
So that's not a big deal because young implies like young. You could just say, fine, how young do you want to be? I would go with, okay, fine, you're a preteen or you're at the cusp of 13, right? Mm-hmm. Who cares? I don't know. That's a mechanical question. I don't give a shit about mechanics.
To me, it depends on what your concept is.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I disagree because from a role-playing stance, you have to give a shit about it if you're a GM, because if you're playing a 7-year-old character, who does that, but if it happens,
yeah, it happens.
Your hindrance is an addiction to drugs. I mean, how do you handle that?
So she's talking about her hindrance is the young hindrance, right? Which limits how many trait dice you get and how many skill points you get. That's what she's talking about.
Well, she's also talking about hindrance totals too. 1 major, 2 minor.
Right, yeah. So they chose not to take the young. So I would tell them that's when you have to have that real conversation. It's like, look, I get it. You're not metagaming your way through this. You're not playing a 7-year-old who has the full equivalency of an adult. It's not happening. If you want that, take the fucking young hindrance, or you're going to be a preteen or an early teen. That way you have your full capacity.
Now, what comes along with the young hindrance? I've never read it before, but I can't remember it off the top of my head.
The young hindrance, you start with 10 instead of 15 points for skills. You start with 3 points for attributes instead of 5.
Yeah.
And you start with 1 extra Benny.
Yeah.
Per session.
It's a rough hindrance if you take it.
And it's meant.
Dude, that's like taking.
Right.
Well, it's meant to do what you're trying to do with it.
Yeah.
It's supposed to make you less skilled, less physically capable because you're an 8 to 12 early teen in an adult world.
So basically, you're like grabbing a character and you're making a character, and that's kind of cool, actually. And I like that about Savage Worlds, or at least about this hindrance, is how strong of a role player can you be? Take this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
there's also, I know a lot of GMs that say, screw the combination. It doesn't matter as long as you don't exceed 4 points in total hindrances. So if you want to take 2 majors or 1 major and 2 minors or 4 minors, I could give a shit less. Do what you want.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck.
Jamie, you may have missed it, but
order of 1 major, 2 minor, because it kind of forces you into picking up the minor role play hindrances as well.
Yeah.
Jamie, you may have missed it, but Ileana asked a bunch of times about taking the young hindrance and how it was addressed by a GM. And I didn't really know what came along with the young hindrance. Jerrod talked about it, but dude, it's if you take the young hindrance, role play your ass off, brother, because that's what you got coming.
What?
Now this too, what she's also talking to, she's talking about applying it to a character who's not. Well, is she? How do you?
No,
feel
I don't think
about,
she is.
I thought
She said I usually play a minimum of 10 to 12 years.
Right. So that's what she's
Whoa.
saying. She's saying they want to be a kid, but they don't want to take the hindrance.
Holy shit.
I thought it was actually a child playing a character taking an adult hindrance at the table.
Neo 666 said crack baby. I'm gonna play a fucking crack baby.
Why are you bullshit?
Okay.
That sounds fun.
So
I already
yeah,
played a crack baby.
That's what she wants to do. She wants to play an 8-year-old child without the young hindrance.
No.
No.
Can't
Not
do it.
gonna happen.
As a GM, I wouldn't allow that. There's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a GM, I wouldn't either. The answer is no.
Yeah. The answer is pick that fucking hindrance. Right? Y-O-U-N-G. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Even Walking Dead, I mean, Carl, if you put that whole thing into Savage Worlds, clearly he had a young hindrance on.
Oh, yeah.
on.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. For like 8 seasons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
And they're only on
as
season
part of the
6.
hindrance, as part of the hindrance, you can eventually pay it off with an advance.
Mm-hmm.
It's built in. It's right there in the description.
Right.
When you get to a certain age where you're no longer young, you buy it off.
Right, yeah.
Because I want to free
'Cause
up the points for a different fitting hindrance. 10 to 12, not 8.
Power gamer. Munchkin.
Well, I.
God.
Yeah, well,
Free
I,
up the points.
I disagree.
Hindrance.
I'm sorry, but
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. What does she mean by you want to free up the points for different hindrance?
yeah, I want to know that too. Is that so you could use those points towards an edge? Because that's what I'm curious about too, Jerrod. If she's wanting to use those things towards an edge, well, then I'm sorry, but go to Pathfinder.
Yeah.
And
You don't free up points for a hindrance. Hindrances are limitations, not boons. So
Well,
I'm
what
not,
I
I'm
like
curious
about hindrances too is I could take 6,000 of them at character creation. Hindrances are intended to be a character trait, a role play tool, not a edge point system.
Absolutely, but yeah, a lot of players, as you can see, believe otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the other thing too. You can you're limited to a total of 4 points from hindrances in
Right.
Savage Worlds.
Well,
That's all the points you're going to get.
That's all the
Yeah,
points you're going to
period.
get, but you could take as many hindrances as you want.
I could, yeah.
Oh,
I could
fuck
be
yeah, I let my
obese
players take as
and-
many as they want.
Sure.
Whatever makes you interesting, yeah.
Sure. Go
Okay,
ahead.
then
You want to be crotchety? Go ahead.
Let me go ahead. Let me go
The
ahead.
crushing old man hindrance.
Then let's say,
Get off my lawn is what they call it.
Elney Young, let me ask you this then. If you get this in chat 12 seconds from now, let's say, are you going to play a 12-year-old character in a system like D&D? Because all of a sudden, is it not worth it? Because this is going to tell me if Elney Young is all about those PowerPoints, or are you all about the role play? Because if you're about the role play, by all fucking means.
So what
Yeah,
other
she's
hindrances?
not. I'm not seeing that. Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a person who is saying, I want to play a young character
Yeah.
from a role play standpoint,
She wants a different
narratively.
Yeah.
But I want to have an adult hindrance like drug addiction.
Like, yeah,
Or,
because young is a major hindrance. So what other fucking hindrance do you want to reflect the character's personality better?
Well, the only way that you do that, like you talked about, Jerrod, you talked about the hindrance. If you took the young hindrance along with an addiction type of hindrance, because it's not out
A
of the realm of
10-year-old fucking
possibilities.
heroin
I know.
addict?
sure.
It's not out of the realm of impossibilities, dude. Look at the job that I'm
That
working
is
at.
possible.
Well,
Yeah.
I have seen it.
that's true. That's true. I'll give you that.
You absolutely could. However, that would require your GM allowing you to take 2 major hindrances.
Right,
instead of
yeah,
one.
and not every GM
It's
does.
minor.
Isn't addiction both a major and a minor?
No, it's
Or
a major
habit.
if it's
Habit.
Habits of mine.
it's a major. It's a major if it's an addiction. If
Right.
it's a foible, it's
Yeah,
habit. It's a
Yeah.
foible, like always picks her nose and eats it.
Yeah.
Whatever would be a -1 to charisma.
That's me.
Well, there you got a minor
I
hindrance.
guess that would be
So,
up to the GM to allow
here's what I'm hearing kind of with Ileana's question, and it's something we run into a lot of times in Savage Worlds is people. If you look at the summary in Savage Worlds, it's not really put together that well in the steps it tells you to take, because it focuses on the math and the gaming
It's backwards.
aspect.
I very much
Yes.
read it says backwards as
So,
using
right,
hindrances.
what you should be doing is tell me what your goddamn concept is. All right, now what hindrances would that character have?
Right.
Great. What edges would that character have? Great. What would be the key attributes or skills that character would have?
Right.
And that's not the way that Savage Worlds runs you through it.
No, so I have run a Savage Worlds game where they were all kids, and it was inspired by Skrillex's Bangarang video, right? They were all young gangbangers who were assigned to go kill the Ice Cream Man, because the Ice Cream Man was a competing drug dealer.
Do you talking about Big
That
Worm?
was- Big Worm!
Big worm.
Florida. But yeah, I mean, she's, I don't know, Liana, me personally, you're trying to
Yeah,
get around you're trying to get around the,
To me, that sounds a lot like justifying shitting on somebody's pillow.
Yeah, a mask of Winter, no. Just no.
What do you say?
No teen
Just
hindrance
don't know
minor.
enough about Savage
Teen
Worlds
hindrance
to even
minor.
have any-
No.
you gotta be sexually
Young
confused all the time.
is teen.
If,
Young
you,
is teen.
if you want a teen hindrance, you're pregnant. That's a teen hindrance.
There you go. There's a hindrance. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Go kill those dragons.
Okay,
16
finally,
and
one last
pregnant.
thing. Jerrod, I gave you the savage, goddamn. I've had a handful of beers that are behind me. Jerrod, I think I gave you the show notes, and Perry had a question, but I want to hear you pronounce his name because I heard that you could fuck it up pretty good.
That would be, thanks a lot, Scott. That would be Perry Chalmers.
He's fucking French Canadian. He told us this. It's not Chalmers.
What is it?
They
Chalmers.
can't pronounce hard consonants in fucking French.
Okay, you're right. Chalmers.
No.
Calmers.
It's not a hard consonant.
All right, what did he
You gotta,
write in
you gotta
saying?
sex it up. You gotta pick your pinky up and be like, it's Perry Chalmer.
Chalmer.
So, what do you want to read his question for us, please?
Sure. To go along with the last one, ... Do you role players notice perception spot search checks in secret, or just have them roll it?
Ooh, let's hear it.
You know my answer to that. Everything's
Yeah.
rolled out in the open, player or GM.
Yeah.
Oh, that's your okay.
Yeah.
This is
I mean,
my opinion. My opinion, 100%. If I said, Blaine, you happen to be standing off the trail, roll a notice check. And again, in my opinion, that means that Will and Frank are going to go, well, I want to roll a notice check. I personally
Well, you've
have
done
a
that,
problem
and
with
I've never. I mean, me personally, I've never. It's like, okay.
Well,
Yeah.
as a GM, you haven't had me GM you through something like, say, 5th edition or Savage Worlds or something like that. Me personally, I'm going to roll those notice checks in the dark. And this is why. Because I'm going to let Blaine know on the side, personally, you heard a branch snap off in the distance. Again, I should have faith in my players to go, oh, well, there's a branch to snap. But I didn't hear that. I get that part of it. In the end, yeah, they're going to go, oh, well, I wasn't surprised. Oh, I was surprised. I like putting the perspective into the player's mind, like I said earlier. I like being able to go, Blaine, you heard a branch snap off in the distance. And Blaine can go, what was that? Well, now Frank and Will, not Frank's character and Will's character, can go, well, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? I prefer to make those rolls in the dark myself.
So how important is it that Blaine makes the notice roll?
Why is it got to be Blaine, dude?
You said Blaine, I thought. Or who'd you say?
Well, I thought it was
you say
because,
Frank?
I thought it was because
Frank.
you were the only Blaine fan out there. Sorry.
I
Anyways,
am the only Blaine fan. I agree on everything. I love this shit. Blaine's probably getting a lot of hate mail.
It's important because it's important to me because, again, I like to tickle the brain of the player, not just the character. I have faith in my players that they're good role players, but I also like to be able to make Will go, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? I love.
Sorry, that's not what I'm asking though. If there's a notice roll you want to call for, is it something that his character needs to notice?
In
Maybe.
Story-wise.
in the sense,
Maybe not.
Story-wise.
Story-wise, I will say it's important in the sense of who am I going to surprise as a player. That is the most important thing to me as a GM.
Okay.
Because as you said earlier, Jerrod, I can agree with what you said earlier as far as, well, I want you to roll to see if you notice the 6 ninjas or whatever. I get that. I have a Benny. I'm going to use it. But I still like that element of surprise on the player. The player should also have that sense of what the fuck versus the character going, oh, well, I didn't hear that. Blaine, tell me what you heard.
So do you guys play over the internet or do you play in person?
Yes.
Okay, so when I'm running a game, if I want to do something like that, I will get. I don't sit down when I GM. I'm constantly pacing the fucking room like a caged animal.
I know the feeling,
right?
dude.
So I would go and whisper in his ear because then you already have the intrigue. Like, what the fuck are they talking about? And then he rolls dice. You're looking at his character sheet. He doesn't have to say anything. He just rolls, and you're like, all right, are you happy with that? Yes or no? Or okay, that's what it is. You want to Benny that, or you want to try this again? Right? And then you just back away. And then only you and he know that something is amiss. And the other two know something is amiss, but you've already sparked that intrigue. You didn't call for a skill at all.
Okay, but what if you have the whole group roll a notice check and only one person succeeds and you hand it to that person? It's killing, in my opinion, it's killing the immersion of the player because they're going to go, oh, well, my character didn't hear that. He didn't hear that.
Here you go, brother. I'm going to tell you some of the advice that you have to embrace rapidly. You're playing a game. All this talk of immersion, at some point, people have to embrace the fact that this is nothing but a board game.
It is.
That we build a story.
It's not
around.
immersive.
Okay.
Right? You have to come to that point.
Let me give you another example then. Let me give you another example. There's a difference between me going out back when I used to ride, okay, and finding a fucking massive jump, and I go, okay, I need to pin this shit out in 4th, and I need to hope to fucking God I make it to the other side. And that's on me. That is the suspense to me. As opposed to me going, I saw Blaine hit it in 4th pin, and guess what? He cased it and broke his fucking back. I'm not going to do that. The difference is it's the suspense to the player. So you either have good players or you don't have good players. It sounds like you have a good group of dudes, right? I've listened to your guys' actual plays. You guys have a good time. No one acts like a cunt. According to Patty's Lover, I metagame the fuck out of my
Blaine.
So that might be your problem, Jamie, quite honestly, is you're a metagamer, right?
I mean, guess, apparently.
It is what it is, right? So your brain thinks in that metagame manner, right? Which is nothing wrong with that because you're understanding that it's a game. You're just, the words aren't coming out of your mouth that yes, this is a game and I get it, and I need people to not be able to move their tokens to go and collect their fucking 200 gold pieces from the dragon. Yeah, man, you're gonna get those shitty players who are gonna argue with you. But Savage Worlds is not a good example system because you have to have a Benny system. The Benny economy has to be there. Now, you can make a setting rule if you want that says, I'm going to give you passive notice rolls, and I'm going to base it strictly on your fucking spirit, right? Or smarts, sorry. I'm going to base it on your raw smarts, and if I roll that, then you can tell them something. That could be a setting rule for you. Other systems have passive perceptions. I don't know, man.
I mean, let me ask this question. What eventually ends up happening with that information anyway?
Right.
One character wins the notice roll that you're trying to surprise, keep everybody in suspense, and turns around and does what immediately? Hey guys, there's a broken bridge.
I found something. I found a dark
We're talking about a broken bridge. That's a fucking horseshit roll. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. If you're asking, if I've got a group of 4 characters going through the forest, all stealthy like, and I ask one of them to make a notice roll, and they succeed, the first thing that bitch is going to do is turn around to everybody else and go, "Hey guys."
Right.
They may not even do that. I relate what I just learned to the fellow players at the table.
Yeah, and it comes
so.
down.
Why make the notice
What's wrong with that?
Because no, I disagree. At least with our group of players, I will highly disagree. Our group of players, we've all been good enough, and apparently, according to Chad, I am a metagamer. Fuck all you. Anyways, I didn't realize I was. If I am, fuck everyone. Anyways, I disagree because we've had good enough role play in our groups that it's been like, well, Blaine, you heard something, nobody else heard shit, and Blaine's been able to say, "Oh, I'm locking off this way." There's a huge, but okay, while that's good, I look at it as it is more, Scott, I'm going to use the word immersive, okay? It is more immersive for the player, and it's more mystery to the player to be able to say, Blaine, why the fuck is your character walking that way? As opposed to, oh, well, he's walking that way because he heard something, but my character doesn't know that.
So why don't you just pass a fucking note to Blaine?
I do, but that's the whole point, is rolling his notice check behind the screen. That's what this whole thing is all about.
No one knows.
Why roll?
If that motherfucker picks up a D8 and a D6, that bitch is rolling a skill. No one has to know. No one knows.
But you're
10,000 foot being like, everyone knows what everyone's rolling. No, motherfucker. Only you know what everyone's rolling because you're running the fucking game.
Okay. Oh,
well, let me ask this question.
Cheers, Scott. You've been drinking all night. Cheers me, you fucker.
Here's something we run across. This question a lot, comes up a lot in Savage Worlds discussion too.
Scott, you're my hero.
How the hell do you run an investigative game? Blah, blah, blah. Well, first thing is you don't make characters make notice rolls. You just fucking give them the clues.
Right? Trail of Cthulhu built a whole fucking system around
fucking
that.
Tell them.
And the investigation is easy. Use fucking setting rules. Use the fucking skills that are in the fucking game. From fucking Deadlands Noir. Use fucking... Deadlands Noir has some great investigative skills and skill seekers. So does Realms of Cthulhu. You put that shit into... I put all those rules into a normal fucking Savage Worlds game because I will use them.
Okay, hold
on.
I
will use them. We're going to run a mystery investigation game, right?
I don't give a fuck what we're running. If you want to find out information about the Thieves Guild, I'm not going to make you make a streetwise roll. I'm going to make you make a streetwise roll with fucking purpose because I have that little fucking Savage Worlds rule now that says let's make this fucking interesting.
Hold on.
Well, that's what I told them for the upcoming Call of Cthulhu. I was like, I'm a little worried about it, but I'm like, I'm not going to tell you guys anything. You're going to be giving clues. People are going to be saying things, but that's up to you to... Yeah. Well, should I roll something? Well, I don't know. Should you?
Hold on. Hold on. Let me interrupt. Steve.
The notice roll is blase.
Hold on. Stephen Dragonspawn put something awesome in the chat.
What?
I love this, dude. I fucking love this. And he put, "You're welcome, Jamie," and I'm saying thank you now before I even read this. He said, "I've had players roll 4 or 5 perception rolls before the game starts, and I use those as passive checks as needed." Yeah, Jerrod, I seen what you did. I love that idea. You know why I love that idea? Because then it allows the player to be surprised, not just the character. I'm sorry, but as a player, I want to be surprised too. I don't want to have to force myself to go, "I didn't see that." I want to go, "What the fuck? as a player, that's what I want.
Let me ask a question. As a GM, do you embrace fiat or not?
Oh, here we go.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Get ready for the second.
Fiat.
In my opinion, that's a pretty crappy car company, but I mean, if you
That's what
like
I was gonna say, Frank. You stupid
Corporate,
Italian-made shitbag.
Do I embrace it? Oh,
Do you embrace fiat?
you're talking in the story trumps rules thing, right?
I'm talking and shit happens because I fucking say so, and I'm the GM. Fiat.
Yes, I do embrace that.
Okay, then guess what? Surprise, motherfucker.
Right?
Done. Why are you rolling?
Sometimes.
You want to have
right?
immersive surprise. Guess what? Surprise, motherfucker.
So, Jamie,
just jumped out of the trees.
right, yeah.
You get no initiative. Go.
Damn it! God
Right?
damn it!
So,
You want to talk
also-
immersion?
Jamie, look at
Talk
this too.
to
Maybe it's how you present things. So you got Blaine, the fucking I can't craft fucking arrows, the ranger. I call him Aragorn.
He's actually been there before.
Will is playing, I presume, a bard.
No,
and Frank
no.
is presumably playing some kind of fucking Hannibal Lecter thief.
Yeah.
Right, so they're in the woods, and Jamie, instead of being like, Aragorn Blaine, can you give me a notice roll? Why don't you keep it in their character motif, right? Their concept. Be like, Aragorn, there is something not quite right about the woodlands. You can't really put your finger on what is going on, but there's something that's bothering you about this current area, and that gives him a chance to say, okay, is it knowledge nature? Is it notice? Is it there's any number of skills, right, that he could try to utilize. At that point, now you're putting the onus on the player to be like, hey, how do you want to solve this riddle?
Okay,
And you can present information if there's a hidden trail.
Hold
Knowledge
on,
nature.
Scott, are you saying you would allow my character Aragorn in that circumstance to ask the GM, well, should I roll a notice or should I roll a knowledge? Or
I
are
wouldn't
you
say
saying
shit.
you wouldn't tell me anything?
Yeah,
So
see,
it's
that-
up to me.
You're a fucking ranger, yes.
Scott
It wouldn't
explained it
bother-
better, but that's what I'm planning on doing for
Okay,
Cthulhu.
hold on.
Is,
Let me
hey,
interrupt.
you
on
notice
that.
something's wrong. What are you guys going to do? It's kind of like, well, what should I roll? Well, that's up to you.
Let me
Because that's how I
interrupt
want
on
to run Cthulhu. I don't want it to be investigative in the game. I want the players to be investigators.
Okay, hold
they
on,
need to
hold on,
figure
hold
it
on.
I
out.
feel the same way. I feel the same way
Oh, for
about
fuck's sake.
Deadlands
Well, cheers,
Reloaded.
Okay.
I do, because there's been times in the sessions that we played where I felt like it. These guys are, of course, they're having fun with me and shit. I understand that, and I understand the reasons why. But the deep down desire for me is to give them something where they're making the decisions on what to roll. And after a while, you just get to the point where I'm like, never mind. Long story short is that's the kind of gaming session that I was trying to achieve.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me finally fucking hold on. I got the fucking conch, whatever the fucking cock, whatever you guys want to call it. Okay.
Better put that
Hold
shit
on,
in your mouth.
Jamie. I'm going to let you
He's
finish.
holding the cock. He gets to speak.
Blow on the conch,
Hold
Jamie.
on. This is the one session that will never fucking leave my mind. Is we were playing a evil session.
In closing, when they fired Andrew Beckett, they broke
Hold
the
on,
law.
Will, shut the fuck up. Let me explain this one. Is because players have the liberty and the right to mechanics, and this is why.
Name it.
I had a session where we were running evil characters, Blaine, our friend Nate, and my brother Chris. Okay, for story reasons,
Wait, what
going back to
system?
what you said, Jerrod, because of GM Fiat, I ran that line, right, where you guys were snuck up on, and you're surrounded by paladins. And my brother Chris got pissed off as fuck at me because he was playing a Minotaur, and he said, hello, I have fucking scent. At that exact point in time, I said to myself, dude, fucking calm down. It's going to be fine. I'm the GM. I'm not going to fuck you guys. Have a little bit of faith in me. It's for the story. But what I'm getting at is players have a right to mechanics that are offered to them in the rule set.
Like the
The
Benny.
wind's blowing the other way.
See, this sounds to me, though, like
Or the choice
as a
to choose what
GM,
skill
you
to
should
use.
understand your players.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, exactly. You
Because-
did fuck them.
Because you're kind of generalizing
But is it Fiat or
every
not?
player. You're generalizing
Well-
every player. Like, I can trust you guys with this Call of Cthulhu coming up. The way I'm going to do it. Could I trust someone else who I know is going to be more anal about it? No, I would probably not go that route. But you're kind of generalizing all players that all players are going to be like, oh, well, he rolled a notice roll, blah, 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 when not all players are like that. Some players can role play and they will be, okay, well, I'm not even going to notice this because my player wouldn't notice it. So I'm going to stay surprised with it.
Okay, Coanum said
that's
in
James
chat.
Scott.
Who?
That's James Scott, and I'm about to bring that up.
Okay,
that's one of the co-hosts from our weekly Wednesday.
Is
he talking about the drop? Is he talking about the drop?
He's Jib. Is that Jib? Is that who you said it was?
No, David Scott.
David
So
Scott.
I'm sorry, David. Okay, David said if a player has a right to mechanics, don't they have the right to see the dice roll? I'm sorry, no.
Yes,
that's my opinion.
What are you
no.
afraid of, man?
I'm going to throw this out here too. If you really want surprise in Savage Worlds has this great little mechanic for it called everybody give me a notice roll and a -4, and if you don't succeed, you don't get dealt into initiative, and here comes the shit.
Dude,
there
in
you
Savage
go.
Worlds to say a -4 is like saying, why try?
Bullshit.
That's what it is.
Bullshit.
You got
Bennies,
Bennies for a reason.
Exploding dice.
Exploding
Don't give me
dice.
that bullshit.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
I've seen people make unskilled checks and score 48, rolling
Fuck
a
yes.
D4, D6, and a -2.
Yep.
Here's
How
all
many,
I'm saying.
how many bennies did it take him to get that?
Yeah.
0. First
None.
roll. Whomp.
Okay.
just happened.
Exploding dice are a bitch.
Yeah.
For the
They're
GM.
awesome.
So I'm going to say this: if the goal of this is immersion, GM Fiat handles that immersion. You go from nothing to instant surprise because you, as a GM, have declared it.
But shouldn't the players say, shouldn't I have gotten a notice check?
Yes, you
No.
fucked up that encounter because he does have scent. If you're going to
Yes,
do
if
GM Fiat,
it's,
you do need to take into account their abilities. And if you really want to have that GM Fiat moment, you need to be able to take into account and obviate what
Or
they're
just
bringing
say,
to
no,
the
you
table.
have a cold, motherfucker.
Well, no,
Yeah,
you
right.
didn't. You said,
I can start a game like this. I can
No,
start a
this is
game
a-
like this.
This is a
guys
D20
are-
system, so you give him a -4 because the wind,
No,
or
dude,
-6,
okay, no,
whatever,
no,
because
no,
the
no.
wind's
Hold
blowing
on,
the other
no,
way.
Bullshit. I go back
Savage
to even
World,
what
you
Jerrod's
can-
saying. Jerrod's saying, even if it's GM Fiat, you say, boom, they appear. Okay, sent or not, a player should have the chance to say, well, shouldn't I have had a notice roll to see if I could hear them coming up on me?
It depends. What was the encounter again? I'm sorry. You got a paladin and his
they're
douchebag buddy that
magically
they play with?
up.
Super ninjas, or are they kobolds?
Yeah. Well, what they
No,
get
they
jumped
have-
by?
No, they have magic. They have magic.
Dude. Okay, that again, I look at
I
that as-
forgot what we're talking about.
I know. Yeah. Jamie, what was your
We're
encounter
talking-
again? It was
we're
a
talking
Minotaur
about-
paladin,
No,
and they got jumped by what?
It was an evil
We're
group.
talking about
Oh, evil group.
It was an evil group, right? And they were in this
Okay.
fucking
Okay.
sanctuary thing or whatever, right? The only
They're in a
thing,
temple.
the only thing as a GM that I influenced at the time was it had an anti-magic field.
Okay.
I made that very apparent because Lyndon, who wanted to have his character become a lich, that's why he was there.
Okay.
They were all there, and the
Okay.
characters were like more or less, for lack of a better word, standing guard. And they were conversing at the time, and I figured as GM Fiat, that was the perfect time to drop in a group of paladins because they were being hunted. And
What kind of paladins? Human, elven?
irrelevant. I mean, realistically, irrelevant.
So not too much, but they're in a set of ruins, right? Like this ancient, decrepit site.
Right.
Have you ever hung out in ancient, decrepit houses and shit and smelled how fucking awful they are?
It depends.
Because of all the
because-
animal feces
That's what
and
I
the
do on
piss and the
weekends.
blood.
Well, Blaine and I
Right?
used to
I
do
mean-
that in weekends, but yes.
Right, so you're overwhelmed. Your senses are overwhelmed anyway. So no, you were okay with that.
But I still, as a GM, I feel like I'm making a fucking dick move if I don't give the player a chance at having what I consider to be their right as a player. It's in the rules. They ought to have that right. It's easy for me
Well-
to say, well, guess what? You missed. GM Fiat, you missed. That's an easy way.
So
of
you're
doing
lucky
it.
because you're playing D20 and they have passive perception.
No, this is 3.5.
Okay, so 3.5. So 3.5 still had a rule in there about making a fucking the perception check for the characters because there's no Benny system. And that's again those kind of game systems. You're well within your right to roll the dice for the characters. Where if Jerrod and I draw a line is you can't do it in Savage Worlds because they have a Benny mechanic. And Savage Worlds doesn't care about the shit that you care about. Savage Worlds cares about let's make these checks and let's get the fuck it on.
Hold on, David.
What do you?
Conanum, right? Conanan. He said, "I don't care about the situation because you keep crossing your mechanics, Jamie. There are
That's
rules in
interesting.
each system for surprise. As far as hidden
agree.
roles, I'm fucked up. As far as hidden roles, passive notice,
notice.
Right, guys.
if
Sorry.
there is a player
Yeah,
right to their
yeah.
mechanics, they also have a right to see the dice roll that fuels mechanic. I call bullshit
Yes.
on that, David. I'm sorry.
Why?
And next time we have you guys
Why?
on, we will gladly invite David because Blaine won't be here and Blaine
Yeah.
is irrelevant. So,
No, he's not. You take that back from my internet boyfriend.
yeah,
Now,
my fucking
so would the answer
Match.com
be
guy.
because it would the answer happen to be because
I
it ruined
swiped right.
surprise?
No. Yes, it's surprise, but at the same time, again, David, God damn it, you're invited to one of the shows when I have fucking Scott and Jerrod back on. This is the whole thing on my surprise gig on why I'm talking about rolling behind the screen. It is so okay. Let's say Jerrod, you, me, and Scott have played nothing but D&D since we're fucking 8 with the young hindrance, right?
God.
And now we're in our fucking late 30s, early 40s, and I'm sorry, but we're sitting back going, hey, Jerrod heard something in the distance, who my character didn't hear it. I guess I'm supposed to act surprised. I have a
Well, that's what
problem with
happens
that.
anyway.
Well, no, it doesn't have to happen that way because if I pass Blaine a note, which going back to what you said, Scott, yes,
Right.
that's exactly what I have done. I have written it on
Okay.
a piece of paper back in the day, and I tell Blaine,
Okay.
you saw a fucking chimera standing behind
it's-
a tree.
You illiterate
Okay.
fuck. It's Chimera.
Guess-
God damn
guess
it. Keep
what?
going.
Chimera, stupid.
The sheer fact that you passed him a note
Your fucking
not
lack
a
of knowledge
French
of Greek.
animal,
fucking
it's
ultimate.
Chimera.
off. There's
Not
a surprise.
Chimera.
Okay, fine, Jerrod. Let me take it back. Let me put it into modern times. I sent him a fucking
Let
text
Jamie
message.
try to re-argue his argument so he wins.
I sent a fucking text message. Does that make it
So
better?
now I hear Scott's phone go ding and I see him look down. And I know that something is
Your
happening.
players are actually cunts and they can't separate fucking what you're telling fucking Blaine in a note.
No.
Yeah, I
Again,
think the
all
issue
about-
here. I think the issue here is more about GM trust in the player, not to abuse the information.
No, I get
You
that
got to
part.
trust your player to play it.
I get that part, but I want the player to be surprised as much as the character. That's my
Okay.
whole point.
You're
No,
not
we're
gonna
not-
do that,
we're
bro.
not
Just like
LARPing.
you can't do horror gaming. You can't.
I'm not throwing a
Frank
beanbag
is
at
not
you,
gonna
yelling
scare
magic
these
missile.
We're not
motherfuckers to take-
LARPing.
It's impossible. Frank
Yeah,
can scare characters because of mechanics. Frank can't scare
Lightning
you.
bolt, motherfucker.
This is like me sitting down to play a game of chess with Scott, and him going, "Okay, I move my pawn to Queen Knight's 5," and I go, "My mighty king stands forth." And Scott's gonna look at me and go, "What the fuck you doing?" I'm like, "I got my king's accent."
No
Okay, well, just
bullshit,
fucking
because
move
you're
the
talking
piece.
about something you can both see happening. That's an irrelevant argument.
That's my argument. You're at the table. Everybody sees it happening. You're not going to surprise Blaine or Scott with
Okay,
a surprise.
you ready
or
for
not
fast-
gonna
bullshit?
happen.
You ready for bullshit? Will, when you played Glenn Garbo back in the day,
What I put?
how many notes did you pass me as Glenn Garbo that completely caught Blaine and his character Quado off fucking guard, dude?
At least a couple dozen.
Exactly
I-
my point.
Yeah, but I think, Glem's
Well, it just
character's
sounds to me
mission
like Will
was
is
to
better
keep
at
me off
surprising people than you,
kilter.
Hold on, you guys are confusing the fucking person and their character. Blaine's not retarded. Blaine obviously saw notes going back.
I would
Blaine
like-
was
Are
not
you sure?
surprised, right? Panic to be surprised. Blaine's not a fucking.
For someone
not
who's a fan of Blaine, you don't know a whole lot about.
Okay.
He's fucking cute playing the fucking game.
So how far are we willing to go with immersion? Do you now need to show up in cosplay?
Yeah.
Do
but
I need to
Blaine,
dim
get
the
fuck
lights?
away from the table while we
Dude.
chat.
Do I need to dim the lights? Do I need to drink red K syrup because we're playing vampire? Do I need to burn black fucking candles?
My house,
Jesus,
Burger
how much?
Cape, Red Carrot
Yes,
syrup,
that's how
so
I
believe-
expect all mine to go. What the fuck?
And I know as a GM, here's what I'm gonna say. And Kononum, this is for Dave. Kononum, this is one thing he smacked me around the head face with repeatedly. Jerrod, you can't control role play.
No, you can't. Not at all. You can't.
You can come up with all the rules you want to make a surprise roll or do this. You cannot control role play.
Nope.
And that's part
So
of the
stop
thing.
trying.
That's part of the thing for me is as a GM, and God, for fuck's sake, Jerrod, and from what I'm hearing, Scott, you guys both run games. There is nothing more satisfactory as a GM than when you catch a player by surprise. There's nothing more satisfactory than that. Because when a player walks away, and he's like, holy fuck, dude, I never saw that coming, as opposed to the demon was actually your wife. Everybody heard that. Will, Blaine, Frank, you heard that, but your characters didn't.
You're conflating your issues. You started off talking about Blaine being shocked that he fucking found a path in the forest as a fucking ranger. That's not him discovering the fucking your protagonist, your fucking mentor is actually the bad guy.
No,
that's
but
different.
The point is the same. I want to surprise the player. That's my whole gig.
Hey, Blaine, dog. This fucking path just snuck up on you. Ooga booga.
Was it NASCAR all of a sudden, dude?
Yeah, right. I mean, you have to have these. There's levels of this interaction, right? This immersion that you want. And I mean, like I said, Blaine. Any player is gonna see what's happening at the table. They're not fucking dumb, right? Your surprises are coming from those big twists and the cool reveals in the plot, not like, you dick faces didn't find my secret door, suck a dick.
You're a dick
Okay,
face.
but
You failed the roll, bitch.
But hold on. But that's something that we used to do back in the day that was so fucking awesome. Is I would be like, we'd be in the middle of session. I go, Will, come outside for 10 minutes with me.
Absolutely.
But then the players come back and they don't know what the fuck is going on. That's my whole point.
Jamie, read Dave's most recent.
Yeah, man. We're saying the same thing, Jamie, at this point.
You're picking
your
battles wrong,
battles
Jamie.
wrong,
Surprise
Jamie.
the players with stories. Surprise their characters with mechanics.
Yes.
I
That's the
say-
only way.
Fuck.
You can't surprise Blaine with making a notice roll. That's not going to happen.
But if I do the roll for him and I pass him a note and everybody else failed, then it makes sense.
So here, well, hold on. So Blaine has bennies for a fucking reason, right? You're approaching the game wrong. Savage Worlds specifically has a different ethos than a lot of role-playing games, right? I think that's a big problem a lot of people have when they first come to Savage Worlds is breaking what they're used to, because the Benny mechanic changes the entire ethos of this fucking game. And if you're telling, even out loud, like, I don't do any secrets anymore. I'm like, hey, you're the fucking, hey, Ranger up front. Give me a fucking notice roll real fast. And if anyone else is like, I'll make a notice roll too, I'm like, you're going to sit down and suck a dick. You're not doing anything. You're a fucking big dumb fighter, and you're probably stroking your dick while you're walking through the woodlands.
I'm not a beer.
Right? It's not happening.
I have a good counterpoint to that. I have a very good counterpoint to that. How many of us have ever heard about the telephone game back when we were kids, right?
Absolutely.
And I used to love this about my players, especially considering the fact that we're all drinkers, right? I used to take Will outside. I would tell him something. I would come back and sit at the table. And if it was based off of a fucking notice roll or whatever at the time, and I'd sit at the table, and Will would tell his version of what he heard outside. As the GM, I know exactly what I was saying. And I would sit back and fucking laugh at what Will may have been saying to the other players. Because that is
Purple monkey dishwasher.
That is the character immersion, whatever you want to call it, that's happening at the
Right.
time. That's what I like about that kind of stuff. Is because the character and the player simultaneously fuck this up.
So I'm going to blow your fucking mind, Jamie, with this thought. And you might like this, right? So I'm in the same boat as you. I like taking people aside, because I'll take someone aside and just be like, hey, we're going to stand here for a few minutes, and I'm not telling you shit, but I need you to go back in there and pretend like there was some deep shit that happens, right?
Right.
But here's something else you can do, since you seem to have this problem. I know you're going to find it hard to believe, but dice aren't that big, and they're not that heavy. He could take them the fuck with him, and then you could ask him to make whatever the fuck roll you want in private, and no one will know. And then he comes back
Your face isn't that heavy.
with a fucking success or a failure or a fucking raise, and your answers are fucking solved, man.
I've done
Why
that.
are you making this so difficult?
I've done that in the past. I said, Will, make a
You
perception
cannot roll
check.
you cannot roll players' rolls in Savage Worlds. I'm telling you right now, because you're fucking them.
Here's the thing. You shouldn't, as a GM, be making the players roll.
No, it's not your fucking
God
dice.
damn. you control everything in the world, and now you want to impose your authority on the player's role by rolling for them?
Let me make it.
What the fuck?
Hold on. Let me make it. I will admit to something. Let me admit to something. I have yet to ever do a roll for a player in Savage Worlds. So I'm saying.
They move the fuck
for
on.
instance.
But that's different. So if we're not discussing Savage Worlds, make all the roles you want, because those other bullshit systems have all that in place. They call for that shit.
I agree. And you two guys coming from a Savage Worlds specific podcast, I get that. But we're talking about all systems here.
Okay, I play other shit. I play 5th edition. Okay. I make passive perception rolls for players because it's on the character sheet.
Fucking Will, you already shithouse. Will, look at.
Will's done. He's like, fuck this conversation.
Okay, I think
Will's not even sure he's having a conversation right now.
I know.
Hold on.
Yeah, man, I'll roll for players based on the system.
You're buying
You're
yourself
about Savage Worlds. You guys converted recently to the church.
Yeah, I think in any system you're talking about 5 seconds.
Huh?
You're talking about 5 seconds.
What, like your salami dropped on the ground, and that's how long you have until you can pick it up and eat it?
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to go for this immersive thing. I'm going to completely catch the character, and the player off guard. Yeah, okay, maybe for 5 seconds, and then what? I mean,
saying that.
How much effort do you want to put?
Oh, you guys keep going. I got to pick.
Hill?
Jerrod, what you're saying is that basically, if my elf ranger that can't make arrows sees the fucking chimera before anybody else, he's actually gonna turn around 5 seconds later and say, "I saw a chimera behind that tree,"
or he's gonna go running off into the forest after it, or he's gonna piss himself, or some action's gonna happen.
So Blaine, you have a beard.
That's outside of my control.
Blaine, you have a beard, so I have to assume that you go outside, right? And I happen to know you go outside because of what you do for a living. So it's safe to assume if you, me, and Will, and Jamie, and Jerrod are walking in the forest, and Frank as well. Sorry, Frank. If you see a monster, I presume, Blaine, you're not going to be a cunt and be like, "Oh, I'm getting the fuck out of here," and you're not going to say some shit, right? You're going to say, "Oh my god, there's something going to kill us."
Yeah, I mean, if I put myself in that situation, of course. But here's the thing. If my character's in that situation, especially if I don't know what I saw, I'm a ranger and I saw a shadow.
Okay.
I'm off in the woods pissing. Let's say I'm 20 feet off the trail. Okay. The wagon's rolling by. I can hear my friends right there. Sure. And I see something 20 yards further in the shadow move. Mm-hmm. I'm a ranger. It could be a deer. It could be a rabbit. It could be a fucking chimera.
Right.
I'm gonna go investigate it. Some of my friends are like, "Where the fuck is Blaine at?"
Without saying a word.
And Blaine why not? He would a ranger absolutely would do that. Okay. Yeah, I'd go and be like, "I'm gonna check this noise out real fast."
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
I can catch up. I can hear the wagon rolling. I'll catch up.
Yeah. To me, this falls in the same camp of, I think as GMs, we tend to use dice rolls as mental speed bumps in storytelling.
It's a
We're not sure what we want to say next or what happens next. I need a mental speed bump of 5 seconds to go, yes, this is what happens. And I usually ask players to make a roll. Here's the thing.
That's fair. That's very fair.
That's the only reason you're doing it. And if that's the case, if there's nothing to notice that's important to the story, why make the roll?
Well,
it comes down to little shit.
Why can't I shortcut to the, hey, Blaine, because you're the elf, you have better eyesight and more distance, you notice shadows of something moving in the forest. Right. Why can't I just say that to you out loud as a GM and let you role play it appropriately and let all the other players at the table in character ignore that they've heard it?
And even that, Jerrod,
that's a good point. That's a good point.
You're saying, like, hey, Blaine, you're the fucking ranger. You see something out there, give me a notice roll, and based on your roll, then I'm going to tell you what the fuck it is, right? I've already told you see something.
I can beat you on that, Scott. Why don't you just say, Blaine, you're the ranger. You happen to see that there's something wrong with the forest off in the distance. Now it's up to me as a ranger to say, I'm going to roll a notice check to see if I know what it is.
Right, that's what we said, right? You could use knowledge nature, you could use tracking, you could use fucking notice. There's a whole lot of skills that you could use as a ranger. That's what we were talking about earlier, right?
Well, you hear a lot of GMs too. This is a big foible of GMs. It's a crutch. It's a problem. I'm guilty of it as well. if you have all the time in the world and you have the lock picking skill, guess what? I do not need to ask you to make a fucking roll for.
Right. Well,
You should only be making rolls under stressful conditions.
Absolutely. That's even in the damn rules of Savage Worlds, for instance. It spells that out implicitly, that the skill rolls are only to be made when it matters the most and the character under duress.
If my Elven Ranger is on point and is said in character, I'm taking point, they're walking with a lit torch through the forest, I don't need to make a notice roll. I can just go, hey, you see something off in the distance. What would you like?
Okay, let me put a final fucking crutch on this whole argument.
We can do this all night.
I am out of beer. We are going to wrap up this show.
Yeah.
What now? What now? Let me tell you what now.
That is one way to end an episode. So thank you very much to everybody who joined us in chat tonight. You guys, David, I am not going to lie. David from Scott and Jerrod's show, you have an open invite to come on the show when we have another one coming up. Anyways, I hope everybody enjoyed this. Scott, Jerrod, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. You guys added so much to this show, and I absolutely had a blast.
Especially Scott.
Yeah, well, fuck you all.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hey, I didn't have to say that this time. All right.
Yeah. No, seriously, thank you very, very much.
There you go.
Absolute blast with you guys on the show tonight. Again, Game Master Hangout, folks. Make sure you get over any links or anything like that. Scott, Jerrod, please email them to me.
Okay, we can do that.
Email them to me. They'll be in the show notes. You guys are a blast. You have an open invite to come back anytime. And our schedule is about as consistent as, a rolling football. So I will definitely reach out to you guys again. Scott, thank you very much for reaching out to me about getting you guys on the show.
Yeah, man, this is fun.
I if anything, I hope you guys figured out that I love playing devil's advocate. I absolutely fucking love it. I love arguing for the sake of arguing. So coming up on May 2nd, we have the Gathering of Dorks 2-year anniversary show coming up. It's about 5 days early, but that's when we're going to do it. Be sure to check the social medias for when that show will be coming up. And again, we want and I'm talking to you listeners, Stefan Dragonspawn said I have a very sexy voice. So I'm going to use my sexy voice right now, and I'm going to say fireplace. We want you, the listener, send us your show topic idea, since this is going to be the general layout on how the show is going to work for now. Email them to thegatheringofdorks@gmail.com. It can be anything. Beginner boxes, any type of game, any of that shit. We don't give a fuck. Just go ahead and send it to us, and we're going to talk about it. If we have the game, we're going to talk about it. If we don't have the game, we're going to attempt to get it. So, Blaine, it was brought up on the last episode. This was last episode was supposed to be your last episode, but this is actually should be your last episode. Give out that contact info one last time, please, sir.
Well, since you already gave out the email address, which is thegatheringofdorks@gmail.com, I will start with Twitter @TGODorks, Facebook, facebook.com/TGODorks, and be sure to join Nerds International with a hyphen, Google Plus community.
I know.
Will, mute your mic,
Will's
please.
like, I don't want to mute myself.
Yeah, no shit, Will.
I don't mute nothing.
No fucks given.
And of course, as always, follow us twitch.tv/TGODorks for live sessions like this one where you can hear us argue. And be sure to leave us an iTunes review. We appreciate those if you can get them out. And get over to patreon.com/TGODorks to help support the show.
Dude, last
you can
episode,
find the links.
Hold on, I'm sorry.
You can find the links,
you, Blaine.
including the.
No. Fuck you. I'm gonna interrupt you. Last episode, you had a fucking, as Ant put it, family-sized bottle of Captain Morgan, and you were pounding that shit like it was going out of fucking style. And you nailed this part, but for some reason, you're fucking it up this time.
The chat told me to drink. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, okay.
So, anyways, you can find all this in the show notes.
Damn right. Along with that, you will be able to find any links that Jerrod, Savage Daddy Gunning, and Scott, the cheerleader for Savage Worlds, will be providing to me. Again, I seriously thank the two of you so much. This was so much fun. Thank you very much.
This is fucking awesome.
Thank you both. Awesome.
So with that, this is Jaime saying, grab some beers, grab some friends, and make it one hell of a game night.
This is Blaine saying, play your character true and fuck with your GM every chance you get.
This is Will saying, get a vasectomy. Quick.
Frank, what do you got?
I can't follow that shit, man.
Jerrod or Scott, if you guys have sign-offs.
I can fill in. I can fill in. Until next time, keep rolling and stay savage.
There you go.
Thanks, bitches.
All right. We will see you guys for episode 68. Take care.
Goodbye, goodbye. Wipe the tear, baby dear, from your eye. Though it's hard to part, I know. I'll be tickled to death to go. Don't cry, don't sigh. There's a silver lining in the sky. Bonsoir, old thing, cheerio, chin chin, na poo toodaloo, goodbye.